Hey, folks. We have a word from one of our favorite sponsors, Sunset Lake Seder. If you use the code LEFTISBEST, you get 20% off of all of their excellent products. You got to go to sunsetlakeseder.com and use the code LEFTISBEST for 20% off. I've got multiple of their products right here on my desk. The Relax Gummies, I'll pop one of those before I walk home. I use the Sleep Gummies basically every night to help me go to sleep, especially in stressful, fascistic times like these. I rely on Sunset Lake. I also have their lotion that I've been increasingly relying on because it's getting a little bit drier as the seasons change. And out of respect for Sam, I use the unscented at the office. But I also have the scented at home. That's how much we love Sunset Lake Seder over here. They have products also with a little say in them if you want to get spicy with it. They've got smalls, they've got keef. You can grind it up with the other stuff that you're enjoying. They use regenerative farming practices. They have it's part employee owned in many ways, right? I should know this, but they at the very least pay their workers a living wage. They have partners with us on things like refugee resettlement, strike funds, fundraising for different issues that this show is passionate about. They are movement partners, and this is the kind of company you can feel good about supporting, and their products are just good. There's third-party verification as well, so you know that the Sunset Lake Seder that you're getting is of the highest quality. And if you go there now, sunsetlakeseder.com, use the code LEFTISBEST for 20% off. You can enjoy it yourself. Again, that's sunsetlakeseder.com. Use code LEFTISBEST for 20% off. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, October 24th, 2025. My name is Emma Vigeland, in for Sam Seder, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Astead Herndon, new host and editorial director at Vox and political analyst at CNN, will be with us to recap the news of the week. Also on the program, Trump releases the list of donors who are funding the ballroom, the most important issue in America. And it includes Palantir, Amazon, Google, Lockheed Martin, and more.
All my rowdy friends are here.
Yeah. Why are you against fun? They're trying to bring all the corporate people into one place to party. Trump ends trade talks with Canada because the Ontario Premier ran an ad showing Reagan criticizing tariffs. And he grants a pardon for Chinese billionaire Changpeng Zhao, whose company Binance coincidentally just struck a deal with Trump's crypto company World Liberty Financial. America first, baby!
It was a pardon for not setting up things to catch blatant criminal activity on the exchange.
Why would Trump be interested in covering up blatant criminal activity?
Yeah.
The Israeli Knesset advances a bill to formally annex the West Bank while J.D. Vance is in town, and he's offended. Israel strikes southern Lebanon, violating yet another ceasefire. The Israeli Supreme Court once again refuses to let international reporters into Gaza. They are hiding the true death toll. Blinking, blinking, flashing alarm bells. They don't want there to be recovery of the evidence here. Trump officially greenlights a plan to open a pristine Alaska Wildlife Refuge to oil and gas drilling. He also says he will not ask Congress for authorization on on striking Venezuelan boats, despite the Constitution requiring it for acts of war. Shutdown watch, it is day 24. Republicans are anxious about expiring ACA subsidies as Trump still bars them from negotiating with Democrats. And lastly, the economy keeps flashing warning signs. Target cuts 1,800 jobs as tariffs wreak havoc. And I guess, actually, lastly, early voting in New York City begins tomorrow. This is very important. If you're a listener to this show and you're in New York City and not voting, I don't know what we've done wrong, but early voting starts tomorrow on the 25th. All this and more on today's Majority Report. And, you know, I don't know the official early voting dates for other states, but we have many races around the country, even though it's an off year, that are going to be really important just across the river, of course. We have the governor's race in New Jersey, and others. People might really enjoy going back and listening to my interview with Daniel Nikanian from, I guess, a week and a half or so ago, where he laid out a lot of the races that are important. I mean, Omar Fateh, another race that we need to be supporting. I was really happy to see that our girl Ilhan Omar has been going hard for him in the final weeks. And it was kind of like the AOC strategy, right? Getting more attention when it's the right time to.
And people really need to turn out for socialist Robin Wansley in the Ward 2 election in Minneapolis, who is facing a challenge there from the establishment. We need Robin to win too. So if you're in Minneapolis, particularly in Ward 2, or know people in Ward 2, get him to lock in.
Absolutely. Let's start here because it's been over 2 weeks, or at around 2 weeks since, you know, the ceasefire was announced, although Israel continues to violate it and bomb and kill dozens of Palestinians a day in Gaza. They
yeah, it's an interesting ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing in
drop
Lebanon.
Bombs on people.
It's the ceasefire holds because there is completely there's disproportionate force on the Israeli side, and everybody knows it. So they have to make sure that they're not being bombed into oblivion, seemingly allow repeated violations of the ceasefire to keep the genocidal, rabid country happy, to maintain the bloodlust. They are breaking the Lebanon ceasefire. They're breaking the ceasefire in Gaza. And then they'll blame Hamas. So it's just, this is how Israel operates. And they continue to block aid from getting into Gaza. The trucks are not getting in at the level that they are supposed to be. When have we heard that before, even though there is supposedly a ceasefire? The international press, as I mentioned, has not been allowed into Gaza. There was a statement that was put out, I believe, by the Foreign Press Association, because the Israeli Supreme Court, shockingly, I know you'll be shocked by this, said, it's not time for international reporters to go into Gaza and document the genocide, perhaps uncover the true death toll and the reality of the destruction. UNRWA is still being blocked from getting in. It's the only organization that has the infrastructure that could adequately address the humanitarian crisis there, and they are being blocked. So the situation remains immensely dire in the Gaza Strip. But then we turn to the West Bank. Oh, I should also say, Israel controls over 50% of Gaza at this point. They have drawn this invisible line and have been shooting at Palestinians on site as they try to cross the invisible line into the essentially occupied territory of over 50% of the Gaza Strip when they're trying to go back to their homes. Israel hasn't said has given vague notions of where this kill line is, but not being very clear. And they're just gunning Palestinians down as they try to go to their homes, which for all they know, is just rubble at this point. And then there's the West Bank. as a reminder, Israel has illegally occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967. They illegally stole the territory, and since that time, more than 700,000 Israelis have have stolen homes and land, and have put up settlements in the West Bank and in occupied East Jerusalem. So, and formal annexation is all but that. It is only really just a formality, right?
If you're literally taking somebody's house that they used to live in and saying, this is mine now because of who I am and who you are.
And that's exactly how they did it in 1948. It's the same thing. So this is a formality, but then the question is, why the formality? The formality is that 2 days ago, the Knesset voted 25-24 to advance a bill that would basically say that Israel has sovereignty over what they call Judea and Samaria, and what Bill Clinton and Mike Huckabee will call Judea and Samaria, which is the Jewish fundamentalist way to say that this is Jewish land only, but it means the West Bank. And they advanced a bill saying we have sovereignty over the entire West Bank. Netanyahu and Likud did the most unconvincing protestation of it, but knowing that the far-right ministers were spearheading this effort and that it was going to pass, because it doesn't even matter if they formalize it. Netanyahu's government's already doing it. Then the question is, why formalize it? And I saw that Maryam Zazstein, who writes for Crisis Group, is a really good reporter on this, was positing that it was a way to try to humiliate Netanyahu or embarrass him into more bloodshed, because J.D. Vance was in town at the time. And Trump has said publicly that West Bank annexation is a red line because they're obsessed with the Abraham Accords. They want to codify the Abraham Accords, and the other states in the region say that this is our red line on things like that in terms of formalizing our relationship with Israel. So here is J.D. Vance on the tarmac basically saying, why would the genocidal government of Israel do this while I was in town?
West Bank, sorry,
yeah, go ahead. We'll do, yeah.
The West Bank vote yesterday that took place while you were in the country.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. That was weird. I was sort of confused by that. Now, I actually asked somebody about it, and they told me that it was a symbolic vote, some symbolic vote to recognize, or a symbolic vote to annex the West Bank. I mean, what I would say to that is when I asked about it, somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's when he says we're not happy about it. It's because of the Abraham Accords. Let's be clear. It's not because this administration has an iota of humanity towards the Palestinian people. They are Trump's personal wealth is tied up in money with other Arab states that do not want the West Bank annexation for selfish reasons too. One, because Israel's obviously deeply unpopular in these countries. If there's any semblance of democracy or like any, discontent within their population about this, they might have to answer to it, even though many of these governments, of course, are incredibly authoritarian and undemocratic. But two, because if it pisses off these governments, Trump can't make as much money as he wants when they're doing crypto deals in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, and of course all of these arms deals and other ventures with the Saudis. So that's what they're really upset about. But we're happy that supposedly a line is being drawn there. But it's just so, I think it's weird. What do you mean weird? This has been the reality of course, the past 2 years, the past over 100 years. It's not weird. It's actually the most obvious thing the most obvious outcome that could have been anticipated, that Israel is going to try to formally annex the West Bank one state is what they envision. Netanyahu held up a map at the United Nations showing that the West Bank was a part of Greater Israel. I don't know who this is fooling, but he talks just God like he's like the most online young right-wing boy, and I think that's who they're targeting. By the way, with all they feel like they can sustain their political constituency with young men. So, but it doesn't translate in like his whininess in when you hear him talk.
Well, because it's
versus
weakness.
like on Twitter.
They have to mask
Yeah.
weakness on this, which is it is all the only thing that's different is the symbolism of is this formally recognized or is it not? Because when you're waving through giant new settlements and having people continually kicked out of homes, and the settlers, like we see in the Jasper video, walking down people in their fields like the hills have eyes. Like, it doesn't matter really if you're not going to do anything to stop any of that.
Yep.
So like, be insulted by it, but you're insulted because the Israel right is doing what it always does, which is says we're going to grab all that land, and no one's going to stop us.
And the reason
And
that
they have.
Right. And the reason that they're even protesting here, I would argue, is probably because they are much more interested in seizing the Gaza Strip and building this like capitalist casino thing that Trump keeps talking about. I mean, he's brought Jared Kushner back into the fold, and we played the clip of him at Harvard around 6 months into the genocide talking about the value of the real estate on the Gaza Strip being a beachfront property. I mean, you see how just 50 miles north, Israelis are playing volleyball in the zone of interest country, and just down miles beneath them, a genocide is happening, and that coastal property is quite valuable to them. Although, interestingly, the yellow line that Israel is drawing here, it's their farmland that Israel had been occupying, the more fertile areas right now.
They pushed them up against the beach.
Yep. So that is another, obviously, colonial tactic, is to continue to push the occupying population into smaller and smaller territories.
Makes them easier to starve again later.
So to translate that, their only concern there is that this might get in the way of the Abraham Accords efforts and the enrichment of Trump and their buddies with their new Middle Eastern friends. This has nothing to do with protecting the Palestinian people. We'll continue to monitor this as well, but none of this is going to change unless we cut off arms and cut off support. You know, you hear there was like some Zionist podcaster that was saying, we don't need you, like insulting JD Vance. We didn't play it, but
no more Iron Dome. No more none of that.
You want to try that?
Sink or swim.
Exactly. I would love if we had policy that, you know, followed through on those statements, but they're so arrogant because they know that Zionists have bought our politics here in the United States, and even if they say that, even if they act like they're strong without U.S. support, they need us.
Yeah. The amount of hysterics you'd see if Iron Dome funding was significantly threatened. I'd like to see it. I welcome that. That's called leverage.
In a moment, we'll be talking to Astead, but first, a word from two of our sponsors. We all know that there are a lot of multivitamins out there, and many companies are making big, bold claims, but keeping their proprietary formulas secret, and it leaves you to wonder what is real. Well, Ritual is different. Their Essential for Men 18-plus multivitamin is science-backed and made with traceable and bioavailable key ingredients. They share the source, supplier, scientific research behind every active ingredient, so you know what you're putting in your body and why. That is incredibly helpful because, you know, you see those vitamin gummies, you're like, what's in this? And sometimes some of like these supplements, they don't necessarily have the most transparency, but Ritual provides that for you. It's a science-backed multivitamin for men 18 and older with high quality and traceable key ingredients in clean bioavailable forms. Sam is a daily user of this and is very much happy that Ritual has this subscription service so that he never runs out and never has to worry about it. It's a science-backed multivitamin. As I mentioned, it has omega-3 DHA to support heart and brain health, vitamin D3 to support normal muscle and immune function. Their Essential for Men 18 Plus multivitamin contains 10 key nutrients and 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day. It's designed to be gentle on the stomach with a minty essence in every bottle that helps make taking your multis actually enjoyable. Essential for Men is third-party tested for heavy metals and clean label project certified, so you know you can trust what you're putting in your body. These vitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project certified, gluten and major allergen and free, and made traceable. It's HSA, FSA eligible with a seamless checkout experience, so you can save when you shop with pre-tax dollars. Essential for Men is a quality multivitamin from a company you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month for a limited time at ritual.com/majority. That's ritual.com/majority for 25% off your first month. Again, that's ritual.com/majority for 25% off your first month. Visit ritual.com/majority to start Ritual or add Essential for Men to your subscription today. Link down below in the video and episode description and at majority.fm. And lastly, I would like to thank OneSkin for sponsoring today's episode and my morning and nighttime routine. OneSkin sent me the OS1 Face, a moisturizer and longevity serum in one, and their OS1 Eye, which is a concentrated formula to deal with the delicate skin around the eyes. You gotta get in a little eye cream if you're worried about crow's feet and preventing that kind of thing in the future. They have great texture, creamy texture. It's dense, but it's not too heavy, and you just need a tiny bit to cover your whole face when you're looking at using the face moisturizer one. Changing seasons means harsher air, drier skin, and the after effects of travel and summer sun damage catching up on your skin. That's sometimes a problem for me. I've been known to like to lay out in the sun a little bit. I'm trying to beat that addiction, but OneSkin is helpful in trying to... yeah, it's a little bit... It's not good for me, but I just like to be tan. I don't know what to tell you, and then I have to fix my skin later. OneSkin is helping me do that as we speak. I'm early on in incorporating it into my ritual, but I've already really seen some benefits as well. My skin is feeling really good today, and I used both of the serums last night and the OS1 Face this morning. Every formula is dermatologist tested, safe for sensitive skin, and NEA approved, delivering powerful results with skin health in mind. The packaging is great. It got this reusable shell. You just have need a couple of pumps, and it goes on smoothly and easily. This season, don't just moisturize, support your skin at the cellular level with OneSkin. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code MAJORITY at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code MAJORITY. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please help us and tell them the Majority Report sent you. Try OneSkin today. Again, that's 15% off OneSkin with the code MAJORITY at www.oneskin.co. Link down below in the video and episode descriptions and at majority.fm. Quick break, and then we will be joined by Astead. We are back, and we are joined by Astead Herndon, new host and editorial director at Vox and political analyst at CNN. Astead, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
I'm pumped to have you. Congratulations on leaving the New York Times. Would you describe this as your Jerry Maguire moment heard round the world?
Oh, it was time. I mean, I really enjoyed working at the Times. I've been there for 7 years. I was 25 when I got there. My mom was telling me, she was recounting the day I got the job. And it made me remember, there are ways that I want to explore my own journalism past the premise of Time subscriber. There's a whole new world out there in terms of media. And I just thought, I had this moment earlier this year, I was like, if you do another election cycle here, you're really capital letters Astead NYT. And I don't need to be that for my whole life. So I'm glad to try to explore some new stuff. But the timing ended up being kind of comedically back to back with the Zoran profile. But it was not, I would like you to know, that was not intentional.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. But I want to start with your profile of Zoran Mamdani. I know that, being New Yorkers, we're very focused on this race. I'm sure that there's some of the audience, is a little sick of it, but I also just don't want to understate the significance of this race because of what it means for the Democratic Party, because of what it means for democratic socialism more broadly being introduced to the country. Just tell us a little bit about your profile of Zoran, because I even got a text from my mom saying, I really liked it, that's a big deal because I'm trying to make him seem a little less scary to some boomers these days.
It was really, it was 4 times reader, it was fun to do. They had reached out to me on primary night right after he won and basically was like, you got till the election, kind of help us untangle this thing. And I had kind of seen it from afar. But I think so much of my work has been about national stuff and also has been about what Democrats aren't doing and kind of places of lack of inspiration and the disconnect with working class folks. I actually really enjoyed the process of seeing a proof point of someone trying to model new things and trying to show hope and inspiration, or at least a different model of what politics could look like. And so I think that it does have a lot of lessons, both for Democrats, nationally, but I also just think about our politics more generally. The groups that Mamdani has been successful with in the general election is not just your typical democratic socialist. I say this as someone who lives in kind of Mamdani-ville. His unique candidacy is that, you're getting your young folks brought in, you're getting your more traditional leftist progressive, but you're also getting, my neighbors, folks who have lived there for 40 years, people who feel pretty distant from Democrats, people who like Donald Trump, first generation folks who see no difference between Donald Trump and not no difference is it's not the right word, but they don't see a conflict between supporting someone like Donald Trump and also supporting someone like Zoran in the mayor's race. That's where he's really had his sauce in terms of expanding that left liberal coalition. And I really think kind of because of his opponents, Adams and Cuomo really seeding this, he's also been able to take up the anti-Trump mantle too. And so even if you look across the candidates, he's the only one who's consistently, maybe Sliwa, but more consistently has been talking about how the city pushes back against Donald Trump. And I think that's really been underrated also. The center has positioned itself so much against just being against the left. They've actually seeded the thing that combines most Democrats right now, which is Trump's unpopularity.
Yeah, so much there. I want to back up to, the 2024 when we last had you on in the aftermath of the election, because your reporting, especially given the outcome, is people should go back and read what you were covering at the time about cost of living, and you were kind of screaming, saying this needs to be taken seriously in ways that others weren't. And that was central to Trump's kind of appeal. And then in the wake of his victory, Zoran Mamdani went to the streets and started interviewing folks about why they voted for him. And it was exactly what your reporting indicated. And then you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district, going towards, there were many, many voters that voted AOC and Trump on the same ballot, just to give an example of the dynamic you were witnessing. So let's just start in 2024 after the election, how the aftermath of that has brought us to this moment almost a year later.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important place to start. We were on this journey with our podcast, The Run Up, and it was really about creating a record of what we thought a lot of people were really ignoring leading up to last election cycle. And, I think that there were several things that started back in 21, 22, when, a lot of people felt there was a legitimate inflation crisis, a legitimate immigration crisis, and felt like the Biden administration wasn't responding to it. It continued as we culminated to the November race, where we were in North Carolina seeing, people who were the exact suburban district Democratic voter they need in a battleground state who wouldn't vote for them because they didn't take action supporting Palestinians. We were seeing these steps along the way of people's growing distaste with the party's actions. And I think even more so, distaste with the process that they didn't feel like ever brought them into the room. And so one of the things that I think I'm most proud of is we were at the Democratic National Convention's the DNC's winter meeting in 2023, early, right after the midterms. And this was the time they were making the path easier for Biden. They were kind of telling everybody it was all well and good. And we had spent the whole day just going through these folks being like, why don't voters deserve an open explanation about this? Even if you do it, even if you want, even if even if there's not some clear alternative, why aren't you really at forefront dealing with kind of the obvious critiques we're hearing from public? And they have really walled themselves off from saying the public had any say. And so one of the things I think is happening in the post-2024 moment is, at minimum, there's a group of people who are motivated to change the party internally more than almost anything else. And so I think it's somewhat expressed in Zoran. I think you see it with other kind of more competitive races. But I think this mostly happens outside of your traditional battleground midterms races, right? Those races are going to be about beating Republicans on the other side. There's a looming other fight that I think is building towards the Democratic presidential primary, which is a much more open question about who the party is. And that, I think, is an unfinished conversation that they started in 2019 in that primary, but basically collapsed it because COVID hit and it just became about beating Donald Trump, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was never a question about what an affirmative Democratic immigration policy looks like. There was never an open discussion about, even when they talk about economy and affordability, I think the left has a vision of what they mean about that. But I don't think there's been a larger kind of part, what does the party stand for? And so Donald Trump really seized on that vacuum, right? It's much easier to make the she's for they, them, and not you when they don't know what she is for, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was really consistent to the voters we were talking to. It wasn't a mass love of Donald Trump. It was a recognition that he was diagnosing problems they thought were legitimate, and they thought the Democratic Party was not in a real conversation with them, right? And so I feel like what Zoran has done after, and I think a couple other candidates have done this too, I don't even think it's strict ideological, is basically bring them in reality. If you're going to, at this point in 2025, if you're not on TikTok, if you're not doing kind of non-traditional media, if you're not kind of leading from a place of acknowledging Israel's failure, particularly on the last couple of years, a lot of Democratic voters, you're not even clearing the basic litmus test to talk about the other stuff. And so I think that's been the recognition now, is that it's not some side issue. It's actually the ways that you gain trust and authenticity have to come through certain policy barriers. And I think that's becoming more clear.
The lack of performance of small d democracy within the Democratic Party is also essential to the story that you're telling here, and what you're saying about not bringing even voters into the process or attempting to have that conversation. I think that the part of also the lack of credibility on an issue like affordability is that democracy isn't just when you show up at the midterm elections and then 2 years later you show up in the general presidential election. It also has to be in terms of democracy of outcomes, right? That deals with affordability when you're looking at people's economic situation. People don't feel like democracy works for them if
Right.
they're not heard on like their basic cost of
Right.
living
Right.
situation. And then there's the democracy internally in the party that's been entirely eschewed. And you can go back to Bernie Sanders in 2016, also in 2020, the coalescing behind Joe Biden, where
Yeah.
how do you go with Liz Cheney to frickin' Michigan with protect democracy, we're anti-authoritarian, etc., when you can't practice democracy internally in the party? That contradiction is also why we're here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I tell people this, like, and it's easier to say now, but you know, they were booing me for saying it then. Like the Democratic premise of reelection required only kind of news interested people. Like they weren't really trying to expand the tent.
Nope.
You
They
know?
were looking for the Nikki Haley voter,
so I'm
obsessed
saying
with the Nikki Haley voter.
They were
Yeah.
kind of assuming lack of interest and lack of engagement in the election. And so under that assumption, Liz Cheney and Nikki Haley become more valuable because you're basically saying we're only dealing with the kind of left, right, center crowd kind of as DC imagines. That was always kind of ridiculous. That was always quite ridiculous. And the big disconnect they have is, you know, the obsession with kind of putting folks on that ideological scale, I think really is outdated. So illusion, disillusion, news interested and not following news, I think are even more helpful distinctions than trying to put everybody in those left, right, center buckets. And so oftentimes I would be having these moments where so many of the people we were talking to who were upset with the process, who hated both options, who wanted to kind of think differently, they wouldn't like call themselves centrists though. You know, they wouldn't call themselves like Joe Manchin supporters, right? And so many times I think we project that if you don't like D and R, then that means you're in the center. And I think that's not true. And I really think that's a reflection of a democratic system and process that has not now matched the diversity of thought in this country. And I honestly would say the diversity period in this country. And so, you know, what we were doing was really trying to show how people were upset with having to sort themselves into buckets they knew didn't fit them. They knew it. And so I think that's a different kind of framework than so much of our other kind of politics assumes, which is that Americans are just, you know, there's a Camp D and there's Camp R, and those are firmly opposed to one another. I'm like, I don't really think so. I think the process of our political system forces a sorting that it increases that polarization.
And the sorting that the Democratic Party has used has often been based on race. And a lot of that was shattered in this election. To bring it back to Zohran Mamdani, you have some voters of color who voted for Trump who are now voting for him, or who voted for Trump and voted for AOC. And it's not just in New York. This is across the country. Like, that assumption, there's some racism involved in that assumption. They assume the same about Jewish voters in New York City. Oh, they must hate Zohran. Like, I mean, there's racism within the Democratic Party and bigotry or assumptions being made based on consultants. It's motivated reasoning. I get it, but like that also has led us to this moment.
Yeah. I mean, you can think about it in a lot of ways. Like, it's the passive way to think about it is like these are people who just understand these communities through poll numbers. And so, of course, they don't have the why. Of course, they don't have these things because they're not thinking about them in a kind of 360 texture way. But I think what you're saying is true, too. Like, so much of what I think there's been a discussion post-election about how Democrats bring themselves to different places or bring themselves to spaces of young men and all these different groups. And I'm like, well, if you're too stuck up to think that these people have genuine value, you're never going to come to those places in a good way, right? And so some of it is a gut check about who matters. And I really think that the predominant thought of, you know, Democrats since I would say like an Obama era has been a sort of technocrat, debate class, hall monitory style thing, where if the facts are on their side, they kind of just went, you know, in their head, they're like playing a fact-driven game and I'm like, no, it's some vibes. It's some other stuff involved too. And you can't impose your version of the world on others, right? Like the Biden reaction, to go back to inflation of 2021, was not to say, hey, people's concerns about the economy are correct. It was to say, Bidenomics is working and they should get over it. And then we get data 2 years later saying the exact opposite, that they were the wrong ones, right? And so I'm saying, like, that speaks to the natural instinct of, I think, most political actors, which is not to take their fellow Americans at their word and not to trust them, but to impose a view that serves their own political purposes.
Well, then you have, now we'll get to the present day, the Trump administration, they do the opposite. They hyper target their base. They're basically only speaking to their base these days. I mean, the diarrhea video on the No Kings protesters is just for the base. Although we were showing JD Vance earlier, and it's like the way he talks in real life, it's like he's posting for young men online, and that's what it seems like that AI slot video was for, where they're just like trying to rile up this constituency they feel is really important to them. But they do the opposite.
It's not a coordinated strategy, you know?
Right.
Is what I would say. Like, to think about their relationship with their own folks, I think you need to think about different people, you know? Like, Donald Trump is not, you know, there's one way to think about it, saying, like, you know, he's trying to execute his base concerns, whatever. But I think him and Stephen Miller are mostly concerned with the expansion of executive authority and a kind of framework shift of the presidency that insulates them from political backlash. I think it's important to see, like, in a different presidency, you can think about these midterms in a totally normal way. And I think there's a lot of signs in the Trump administration's actions that, you know, they might pay an electoral cost. Like, people do not like what's happening with ICE. That is unpopular. People do not like what they did with Doge. You know, like, there is tariffs, massively unpopular, right? So I'm saying, like, there are legitimate things you can see as penalties that, you know, your normal politics brain would say would lead to Democrats winning and blah, 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 blah. But the difference between this administration is their effort is to make Congress less relevant itself, you know? It's to shrink Congress's impact.
Congress is going along with it, by the way.
Congress is saying, okay. You know,
the Republicans are so
yes.
beholden to him that they are giving their power and their authority up to him voluntarily in a variety of different the rescissions thing is insane. They're saying no matter what budget we pass,
it's like,
he can do whatever he wants.
I'm saying is Congress cedes their authority and the White House is making efforts to expand their authority. Then you should see the midterms as not necessarily the effort that's going to be the check or balance it might be in different administrations. Their goal, the whole Project 2025 effort, is to exist outside of that check and balance. And we have two other branches of government right now, being Congress and the Supreme Court, who is encouraging those actions. And so I think it puts us in a different place when we think about like just the strict electoral politics, because, you know, I have people come to me all the time and say, like, well, do Democrats have a chance to take back the House? I'm like, yeah, maybe, or whatever, you know, like, you know, or is, you know, surely not everyone agrees with what Trump is doing. I'm like, absolutely, I don't think so. But at the same time, does that mean that's gonna cause the type of the type of political backlash that will force him to change his actions? I'm very skeptical. And I think that, to me, is a structural question. Like, not like, what is it? Like 80-something% of the seats in Congress aren't competitive. Like, we're still talking about such a small slice of active democracy that if I were the Democrats right now, I would blow up every rule, you know? Like, I would think, I don't see how in this framework they exist as anything other than an occasional buttress to like conservatives. You know, I think there's such a structural advantage the right has in this current setup.
I mean, it's the gerrymandering fight is at the core of it, right? But it's also the tail of what you're talking about. Like, the idea that this Prop 50 effort is happening now, as opposed to, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever, is like, it's already over, and now they're trying to mitigate the damage. But the point that you're making, and the point that you're making, is key, because there has to be more discussion about creative avenues, given the fact that we'll have this Prop 50, hopefully it passes in California, but the Supreme Court, we just had Elie Mystal on earlier this week to talk about the gutting of the Voting Rights Act that appears imminent, where it seems like Republicans could add up to 19 seats in the South 100%. By all but eliminating majority-minority districts.
I mean, like, the arms race of redistricting is one that Republicans have more options to win. You know, Like
Yep.
Prop 50 can happen and all of those things. I think Democrats, I see how they're embracing a more aggressive form of understanding. But I'm like, Republicans have more state legislatures they control and more, and they just are more willing to follow the president's whims. And so we're already seeing them make a big push in Indiana. And like, even as those state lawmakers push back, the Trump political wing is pretty open about saying, hey, we'll try to find challengers. They're gonna like put internal pressure on those folks. They're right now fighting in Nebraska to take away that electoral, you know how they do proportional, they give that one electoral vote. Yeah, to the place in Omaha. Like they were trying to get that switch last year. They'll probably have that switch come the next election. Like Republicans have been, you know, they took the Biden years to sit around and think what they're going to do. And they're much more, I mean, that's the big difference between first time and second time. There's no longer the team of rivals situation. You know, like before there were opposing interests to Donald Trump, which increased the chaos, increased the leaks, and decreased the effectiveness. That is not true anymore. And so you're basically talking about different people trying to work under the prism of Stephen Miller and Trump's fiefdom rather than it is opposing that interest.
And I mean, we saw the amount of turnover in the first term that we're not seeing now because
exactly. It's all true believers.
Yep, and they're all people that are either, you know, compromised by Trump. Like I would argue that Pete Hegseth having all those skeletons in his closet is not a coincidence in terms of leverage that a guy like Trump wants over somebody, or they're absolute maniacs who are podcasters that are now the heads of the FBI, and it'll never get better for them than this moment. So go all in.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if he, at this point, the folks he's assembled owe themselves to him, right? Like these aren't people who kind of have individual political cachet. And so that is part of the Trump relationship, is to hold that power. But, you know, I really just find it like, I really find it such a bummer because it's not ever like, even when we were out there all last year, Americans were in some agreement about the solutions Donald Trump was proposing, you know? And so it always felt that there was this looming issue because what his governing strategy versus his political diagnosis are vastly different. And so that was always the saddest part to me, is because you could see this coming and you would pose to people like, well, how will the tariffs improve your life? And they'll be like, well, he just won't do it. They'll just wave it away, right? It was never actually about what he was saying on the stage he would do. It was about what he was saying was wrong right now. And so I get that expression of frustration, particularly as Democrats did, you know, their foolishness over the last several years. But that's so, it just felt like we were so robbed of an actual contest that was forward-looking, and we're now paying the consequences.
And a competitive primary would have allowed for there
all
to
of
be
those
that
things to be more forward-looking.
And then that would have also been the performance of democracy for the public, because that would have given them a chance to weigh in. And that's what, you know, one of the many reasons we're here today. But like, just to return to what you're saying about the Trump administration and Stephen Miller and Trump together, trying to insulate their political actions from democracy and making sure that the executive branch can act with impunity outside of Congress. Steve Bannon is just saying it here. This clip made the rounds this morning. This is from yesterday, but let's just take a listen to Steve Bannon outright saying that Trump will be president in 2028, and we're going to disavow, or we're disinterested in the Constitution on this front. We're going to try to circumvent the 22nd Amendment. You don't need to hear me say it. This is what Steve Bannon said.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but He's
All right,
a
whatever.
vehicle of divine
But
providence.
he's gonna basically say he's the closest thing to a god, and that's why all our evangelical supporters treat him like one. I mean, so it. I don't even really know fully what to say about this, except okay, like Bannon is not in the administration.
Yeah, I mean, Bannon isn't.
But they talk apparently every day, and he clearly has Trump's ear on many things.
Right. To me, Bannon's big, to me, Bannon's use in understanding the world is that he is kind of a visionary of MAGA, I would say. And I would say, even I think about a couple years ago when he was at CPAC talking about how, how he thinks that this ends with, physical troops on the ground in America expanding its kind of reach. Like, we're seeing those steps happen too, right? Like, there are ways that Steve Bannon is often a signposter of the future. So I don't know if we don't have like, my sense of the reporting is that they want us to think that possibility exists of 2028, but we don't know if, we don't know the seriousness of it.
Yep.
All I'm saying is, like, by the time we'll get to that point, the effort of the second term will already have changed the game, because Donald Trump as a president will have expanded his reach past, so I'm saying in a governing way, past anything that we've seen before. And so I think they're going to use those expansions of power to justify any type of political possibility going forward. And I'm saying that's what connects the domestic actions and the actions abroad. They want the legal fight about his authority. They wrote the laws on purpose for that fight because they think that, whether it's unitary executive theory or plenary power, whatever you want to call it, like Stephen Miller's core belief is that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants, and they need to prove that.
And if you have the battle, you have a shot. I mean, the Supreme Court has proven that over and over again.
I would not bet against them. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's unclear to me what the guardrails are. It's unclear to me what the checks are. Like, the public and all that stuff can be one, but it doesn't seem to me as if the structures have shown any willingness to stop them.
If you have the right Heritage Foundation lawyers or whatever, and this Supreme Court will give you hear your case and will almost certainly give you at least some more power. They may not go all the way, but they'll tweak to allow for Donald Trump to have more power. And that just, I guess, brings me to ICE. And you spoke about how unpopular these ICE raids are. The impact on these communities, I feel like, can't be overstated. What we're seeing, just terrorizing communities that are usually in urban areas. They're usually black or brown or poorer. These are communities that were already over-policed by local police. And it occurs to me that this is very much... it doesn't occur to me. I've been making this point a bunch, but this is like the federalization of broken windows policing and decades of it that we've been seeing across the country, from, targeting people because of loose gang associations and putting them into databases that they can't get out of without due process. It's very similar in what they're doing with immigrants. And you don't need to prove criminality. You don't necessarily need to prove that anything has been done wrong. We're just going to round you up and put you in the system because you are of this class and because you are of this ethnicity.
Yep, and a good example of what I'm talking about in terms of the distinction between problem diagnosis and solution. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I remember the big complaints about the surge of Venezuelan migrants over the last couple years. But I think that's much different than, basically unleashing a pseudo paramilitary force. And you're seeing the reactions to that. Nothing has united people more than pushing back against that stuff. I was with Mamdani at the West Indian Day Parade. And, one of the reasons, people were kind of skeptical that maybe he would win over some of these voters and stuff. And I'm like, they see that only as like black and race and whatever. He goes in there and he talks about his experience with immigration and how he understands more intimately what needs to be done to keep those communities safe, and his specific focus. And he talks about a specific focus on black immigrants and blah, 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 blah. And that really hits there. And so I'm saying, both politically and policy, Donald Trump, I think, has overreached in a lot of different areas, and it's created space for people if they want to stand up for those communities. But All I'm saying is like, at some point, Democrats will have to answer, national Democrats will have to
Yes.
answer what they think should happen about deportations, what they
Or
think should happen about
immigration.
ICE.
But you're saying
I'm saying they will have to answer that question at some point, but right
yes.
now, they could be against what Donald Trump is doing because there is universal disapproval.
But I would argue, though, said that they could be a much more potent opposition if they took the Mamdani approach of making a positive case for immigration, but they
For sure.
won't do it. They won't do it.
Not all of them believe it. I'm like, that's not even,
Yeah.
it's not like I don't think that's like a universal belief they're scared to share. I think they're legitimately split. And so
But
that's what
that's
I
a major
say.
problem. Like
100%.
I grew up with this notion, learning about the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, and
For
that
sure.
immigrants are what make this country great. Like that is the idea that that's civic education can't be tapped into by the opposition party is political malpractice.
But the position of choice is to say Statue of Liberty while you're still conducting the Obama style deportation raids while using the language of supporting Democrats or supporting immigrants. All I'm saying is that combo has gotten a little exposed. And so whatever they come up with next, I think will look much more like a just legitimate affirmative embrace of immigration is good, or a more moderate approach where they're being more comfortable with saying, like, okay, we're down with these means of ICE or this means of deportation or whatever. But I don't think the kind of say one thing, do another, which is what they've been doing, is gonna last through that next primary.
Lastly, before I let you go, I would love just your take on the brewing fight over leadership on the Democratic Party. I mean, Schumer's is like a dead man walking, it feels like, and it seems like he knows it because this looming primary challenge from AOC, it wouldn't be till 2028, but it's just like an albatross around his neck, and he really messed up by capitulating in the spring. Hakeem Jeffries, I still want primaried, obviously, because of APAC money and because of all of this, but he at least seems to have the support of the rank and file in the House. He would be, I think the only way you dislodge him from leadership is beating him in a primary, but even zooming out from that, Astead, what is your take on how the Democratic base is eager to change over leadership?
Yeah, I mean, the fervor for a new version of the party is real. And I think that's true beyond just left, right? I think No King's a great example about like a kind of hardened center Democrat, which I think is even more open to the language of progressives than they were before. And, has really showed the party and kind of forced them into a posture of fight in a way that they were not doing earlier this year. I think we all know that. I guess what I think in terms of the leadership fight specifically is like, what is the next version? Like right now, Schumer and Jeffries represent resistance, but they don't represent opposing vision. They don't represent some other version of what Democrats stand for, much more than they just stand against what he's doing. I think that the true leaders of the party will offer both. And it will be interesting to me to see if it is my sense, and this is somewhat New York too, but Jeffries really, even maybe more so than Schumer, I think did himself a disservice with this Zoran stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you're a young person, I just don't get I would not, in my opinion, like be so far positioned against the growing lane of the party, And so I get why he's doing that, because he's trying to keep his rank and file involved. He's thinking about battleground races. He's thinking about donors. But I just think it makes him more ripe of a target to be the face of like the ways Democrat leadership has been a little more inadequate now. And so you see some of these early midterm candidates not committing to backing him as caucus leader. And I think that's going to be an interesting early step to see how much leeway he has. Because even Pelosi by the end, everyone was kind of openly saying there should be a change in leadership. And she was okay with that, She knew that you kind of had to do that to win your races. I don't think Jeffries has enough clout internally to withstand if that becomes the national if that becomes what a lot of primary candidates are saying. if they start embracing the talk of new leadership. And so I think that's going to be something we can even start tracking within the next year or so, is to say those main red to blue candidates, those statewide candidates, how are they talking about leadership will be a clearer reflection of the pressure they're feeling or not feeling from base. Like, come 2028, AOC will do what she's going to do. Like, it'll be President or Schumer, we'll find out. And, you know, I'm saying earlier than that, I think the public pressure might start getting some clues that Schumer and Jeffries have passed their time.
And there's also this fight in Schumer's involvement and Gillibrand as the head of the DSCC
in Maine too.
Maine, Grand Plattner, but it's not just Maine; it's also Michigan, where they're putting up Haley Stevens because of who's just like openly courting APAC money and is probably, I don't know, I haven't looked at the polls, but might be lagging behind McMorrow at this point. Like the candidates that they are pushing to Schumer and Gillibrand and the DSCC are actively against the base's wishes, which I think accelerates what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I think they're so used to leaning on electability and just telling people it has to be somebody, and it's not gonna work like that anymore. And so that's not to say that, you know, a more moderate candidate can't win, but they would have to win more so than the party, I think, can impose them, just you know, force them to the front. And so you get what I'm saying? Like, I think
I do, because Zoran has proven if you can prove you're electable as a left-wing Democrat, that's part of what the momentum you create. Like, people want to be associated with a winner, and the Democrats have done a great job for years of basically saying a Bernie-style populist politic could never win. No. But that illusion's shattered, and that is why they're falling apart.
And it's shattering even without it being left. I'm saying someone like Jasmine Crockett would not be, I would consider, a leftist, but would totally break the rules by running and messing up that Texas Senate race, or there's going to be some ways that stardom has shifted, and that the desire for the base Democrats who want a clear expression of fight or a clear expression of lefty values or whatever, like the fact that Seth Moulton is announcing he's not taking APAC money is the sign. You know what I'm saying? That means the median has shifted, you know? And I think that we're in the beginning stages of that, not the end.
Well, Astead Herndon, I could talk to you for even longer, but I got to let you go. Congratulations on your new position at Vox. Everybody check out your work over there, and I can't wait to see what you come out with in the coming weeks. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you having me. Have a great day, y'all.
Thanks, you too. All right, folks, with that, we're probably going to just wrap up the free part of the show and head into the fun half. Before we go, though, we have a limited edition shirt, merch, hat situation. I could have said that more cleanly. But the Majority Report hats and shirts are back. Now, we had a clay shirt that we ended up just doing gray. So this is actually a new version of the Majority shirts, this charcoal gray one. But we kept the blue. We got a charcoal gray. I think it looks pretty sweet.
The gray hat is the best Majority Report hat. The gray Emma Majority.
The gray Emma Majority Report. I'm glad you say that. I totally agree with that. You can get that one. You can get the blue shirt. I mean, we also have the Max Left hats up there.
What does it mean, pre-order? Does that mean?
Oh yes, I should say that. If you can pre-order it through, I should have this in front of me, sometime in November.
We'll ship mid-November, it looks like.
Yeah, but I have okay, so basically, okay, here we go. The pre-order runs through Monday, November 3rd, and orders are going to be shipped before Thanksgiving. So head over to shop.majorityreportradio.com if you would like the limited edition and Majority Report shirts. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Left Reckoning, we had a great show with Dan O'Sullivan talking about the mob, organized crime, and how it is a sort of a hidden constituency in sort of the MAGA coalition. Al Capone, the Cray twins over in the UK. So check that out. Really fun discussion with Dan.
Awesome. All right. We will take your calls. We will read your IMs in the fun half. See you there.
Okay, Emma, please.
Well, I feel that my voice is sorely lacking on the majority report.
Wait. Look, Sam is unpopular.
I do deserve a vacation at Disney World. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Emma to the show.
It is Thursday.
I think you need to take over for Sam.
Yes, please.
No. I'm gonna pause you right there. Wait, what? You can't encourage Emma to live like this. And I'll tell you why. So was offered to tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered to tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. What? Tour, sushi, and poker.
Tim's upset.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered to tour, sushi, and that's what we call the biz. Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Right.
Tour, sushi, and poker.
We're gonna get demonetized.
I just think that what you did to Tim Pool was mean.
Free speech.
That's not what we're about here. Look at how sad he's become now. You shouldn't even talk about it because I think you're responsible.
I probably am in a certain way, but let's get to the meltdown here.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Oh my God.
Tour,
Wow.
sushi. I'm sorry, I'm losing my fucking mind. So was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Logic.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Boy. Tour. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid. Tour. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. Had this debate 7,000 times. A little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid. Tour. I'm losing my fucking mind.
Some people just don't understand.
So I'm not trying to be a dick right now, but like, I absolutely think the U.S. should be providing me with a wife and kids.
That's not what we're talking about here. Okay, all right.
It's not a fun job. Tour?
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing.
Willy Wonka tour?
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing.
What's that offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing.
What's that offered a tour?
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan has done it again.
That offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's a
Poker with the boys.
I think he might be blowing it out of proportion.
real thing.
That's poker with the boys. That offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's
Poker.
Let's go, Joey.
Tour? Sushi and poker with the boys.
Take it easy, Tim.
Tour? Sushi and poker.
Things have really gotten out of hand.
Sushi and poker with the boys.
Delusional.
Tour?
Deluded.
Sushi.
You don't have a clue as to what's going on. Live YouTube.
Sam has like the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Poggers.
Sam doesn't want to do this show anymore.
Do it anymore.
It was so much easier when the majority report was just you. You were happy.
Let's change the subject.
Rangers and Knicks are doing great.
Now shut up. You don't want people saying reckless things on your program.
That's
Now,
one of the most difficult parts about this show.
this is a pro-killing podcast.
I'm thinking maybe it's time we bury the hatchet.
Left is best. Trump Violet.
Tour?
Don't be foolish and don't fucking tweet at me and don't bitch. The way Emma has cucked all of these people, love it.
That's where my heart is. So I wrote my honors thesis about it.
Oh,
Sorry.
she wrote an honest thesis. I guess I should hand the main mic to you now.
You are to the right of me on foreign policy.
We already fund Israel, dude. Are you against that?
That's a tougher question I have an answer to.
Incredible theme song.
Hi, Bumbler.
Emma Vigeland, absolutely one of my favorite people. Actually, not just in the game, like period.
We are back, folks. It is the fun half. Silverfang said the first TMR merch link is broken in the YouTube description. You have shop.majorityreportradio.com. Remove the www at the beginning. Okay. We got to take the www out of the shop.majority.report. Whatever. We'll figure. The link's broken in our description. But thanks for the heads up for the majority report shop. Oh, okay. We just got to change it. No problem. No problem. Thank you for the heads up. To more from the 5, all of Canada is in a baseball mood. Really hoping to see the banner fly here again. Let's go Blue Jays. Left is best.
That's another storyline I
Congrats.
completely missed in baseball. Was Vlad Guerrero's son is like a great hero on the Toronto team. I mean, Guerrero was an Expo, right? Am I Vlad Guerrero?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm really not good with baseball, so.
So I'm like, oh yeah, a cool Canadian.
They have
cool
3.
baseball story.
Bo Bichette is Dante Bichette's kid. Vladimir Guerrero is Vladimir Guerrero's kid.
I feel so old.
And then they have Craig Biggio's kid is also on. We're old.
I I'm 10,000 years old.
Friendalova, on October 18th, why is no one paying attention to or cooperating with them? What?
Who? What?
I don't know. Oh, okay. So can't send two-parters because it doesn't show up right after one another. Friendalova, Trump has executed a fait accompli revolution. The institutions of democracies are operating only for show since Trump has the power to do whatever he wants. RefuseRacism.org is the only organization that reflects my perception on this, and I'm not alone. The people I talk to. Okay. Noah from Tampa. Sherry's Brown was recently running. I think he means Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown was recently running ads on cracking down on the border in Iowa. No, Ohio. Jesus, Emma. You wrote it right that time.
It's Friday and you haven't had a day off this week.
Yes, that's true. And I'm moving next week, and I'm just I need to get it over with. I have such anticipatory anxiety about it. Mahortai, I sent you guys an email with an interaction I had with a professor teaching American history. Deeply troubling. Okay, we will check it out. John from T-Burg, Boss Baby is so far out of his depth. He knows he needs to play nice with Israel and is finding out they couldn't give the smallest crap about what he or Peter Thiel wants. I don't know if I would say the latter part. Peter Thiel and Palantir are very, very involved in Israeli surveillance technology. But
yeah, there's a very funny clip of Peter Thiel being asked about that, and he like basically choked on his own tongue for 5 minutes.
That's every clip of Peter Thiel.
Special Edward, Steve Bannon, you treasonous son of a bitch. I am comforted by the fact that one day you will die. Okay, thank you, Special Edward. The Mill Rind, you need a Pogger Hype Train sound effects for your merch segment. All right. Starspawn, may I suggest an Army Cadet style hat for a future merch idea? Maybe. Bohemic, not the biggest fan of Ossoff, but I usually don't mind him. Though, thoughts on voting for Republicans' federal employment payment bill? I mean, Ossoff isn't. Ossoff doesn't.
He's all over the place.
Yeah, he's all over the place. Watch Harry Medbed says we're about to see nepo babies take over all of the sports leagues. Yeah, I mean that's something
you still gotta hit.
Still gotta have talent.
You can't just.
Although, I mean, it is like.
Well, LeBron, yes.
It's the kids that are able to get into the best facilities from like age 8 on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, oh, what a surprise! They're genius like shots.
Yes, their mechanics are perfect, all that stuff. But
Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, dad's both in the NBA.
Yeah.
Still got to make the shot, though.
Still got to make the shot.
It's not Hollywood.
I give you Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is like
That's
not.
true.
Yeah.
98% of all athletes.
Right. 90. But
no, it's a growing fraction.
I mean,
come from upper.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's becoming less of. It's becoming more of an upper income league.
His dad, Rick Brunson, who's also a coach or coach in the NBA. And on the Knicks.
Well, that's why I watch boxing, where rich kids fail 100% of the time.
Yeah, you got Braun. They've got Braun on their side, and being just like total psychos.
Even Kobe's dad was a pro ball player.
Oh yeah, we don't get to talk about it that much. All right, so what should we do here? I just worry we're maybe in a sec. Is that all right? Okay. I just want to do some more national stories first. Oh, let's do a 2 and 3. So the ballroom, I know everybody has been waiting on the edge of their seats about what's going to happen with the construction of the White House ballroom. Like, okay, I'm not trying to lib out here, but I do think there should be some sort of process before you get to demolish a part of the White House that probably has some historical value because you want a ballroom to be able to host your billionaire friends. Like, how was he able to do this without there being any oversight? I guess it's kind of a metaphor for the whole presidency,
That's the
including
thing.
the image of the bulldozed East Wing and like destroying America. There's so much symbolism
Is
there.
in a normal time, I'd care about it. He's doing that to things that actually matter beyond architectural historical interest.
Yes.
So yeah.
But what's interesting about the story, at least, is that it's being funded. He said that he's going to pay for it himself, but the White House had to release a list, at least to Politico, of the billionaires and corporations that are actually funding this construction as a bit of paying it forward with Donald Trump. You've got Amazon, Apple, a bunch of tobacco companies like Altria, because now they're all obsessed with Zyn and that thing. And it's Booz Allen Hamilton, consultants, Coinbase, Google, Lockheed Martin for the anti-war president, Meta, Microsoft, Palantir, Tether, Union Pacific Railroad. When were they in the news recently? The Lutnick
Jeff Bezos
family.
came, Bill Gates came, Mark Zuckerberg came.
Speaking of Mark
Many them came numerous
Zuckerberg,
times. The bankers have all come. Everybody's coming.
the Winklevi are coming to the ballroom. I mean, Kelly Loeffler, remember her? A blast from the past, the insider trader
The
that
loser?
lost the Georgia race. Yeah.
What's her money from?
I forget. But either way, this is a bunch of people trying to curry favor with Donald Trump to help build the Golden Ballroom and paving over the Rose Garden, basically. Here is Caroline Leavitt being asked about the construction of the White House ballroom, and I just find the quote here at the end, it's a little out of context, but it just says everything. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
to the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly, and so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
I want that quote isolated. At this time, the president is really or the ballroom is really the president's main priority, because it's true.
I 100% believe that.
It 100% is
Yeah.
true. You read the
Don't care the
reporting
context.
about the shutdown, and he literally does not want to be involved. He's now saying this to the House and the Senate Republicans. He says, you deal with it, but you also have to deal with it in the terms that I have laid out for you, which is that you can't negotiate with Democrats on ACA subsidies, even though this like looming cliff could result in House Republicans really, really getting hurt in the midterms, because like the numbers out of what we're seeing, if these ACA subsidies expire, mean that people could be paying like 30% more for their health care.
It's calamitous on a scale that's hard to really comprehend.
There was a Washington Post article from a few days ago that said that like in some of the states, or the average marketplace consumer is going to be paying more than double. It was $888 in 2025, and the KFF analysis says that it would be up to $1,900 in annual premiums next year, which is just more than double. And then if you're in a state like Georgia, which has a lot of folks that rely on the marketplaces, you could see even worse situation for those people's healthcare. So like Trump is, yes, primarily concerned with this ballroom.
I could have danced all night.
Yes.
I could have danced.
He's working on his entrance with Melania, like in The Sound of Music.
Hey, Mike Johnson, could I go backless?
Right.
Do you think I'm still young enough to go with a backless dress?
I do not want to imagine what his raw back looks like. I gotta be honest with you. But it's just, I mean, Mike Johnson hasn't even called House Republicans back. They're all on basically vacation right now, because the Trump administration's line is like, we're not negotiating with Democrats, and I'm going to give you this impossible task, but also not be involved in it whatsoever. So I think he is primarily concerned with the ballroom, and he's concerned with like the pettiest crap ever with tariffs. We just headlined it. He's refusing to negotiate with Canada. This is the second time he's said, were like, I'm going to implement these massive tariffs on Canada or not negotiate with them based on the pettiest garbage ever. First, it was Canada recognizing a Palestinian state, and now it's in Ontario. Doug Ford ran an ad that showed Reagan being anti-tariff. It was Ford.
The fucking conservative?
Yes, but he like saw the way the wind was blowing in the way that like Poliver, I can never say his name, but like the conservatives didn't in the last election where he went
remember that guy?
super hard, right, anti-tariff. So that pissed off Trump so much that he said he's ending all negotiations. Like the most paper-thin ego imaginable. This is what he's really concerned with. I mean, and bailing out Argentina. That's the other thing. We'll get to that too, but it's getting more and more unpopular.
Lady, they are dying down there. Okay,
you don't know nothing about it.
They're doing some kind of good stuff down there. They are dying. They're fighting for their life down there. Cut to Javier Milei like doing an air
rock
guitar
concert. Yeah. They are dying having to listen to Milei riff on the guitar. And like in Argentina, it's the reason that there's problems with their currency is because of the anarcho-libertarian policies that you're trying to do here in the United States. And then you're sending taxpayer money to prop it up because all of your buddies have investments down there. Like this is starting to continue to trickle out. Trump is underwater on basically every issue, including crime, which remained his best, but he's underwater there now. Minus 15 net approval was the last I saw from like the average for Politico. But here's our friend Harry Enton. Now I have to say it.
Yep.
Because I will say Emden because of the sound drop.
Kate Baldwin has a coffee on.
You don't typically see that. I'm not going to be snobbish about it, but I guess you're right.
A little bit casual.
So the country's over.
Yeah. She's like, I'm bringing my coffee on set. I need
extra
this.
espresso.
These are the new numbers on Trump. As he's concerned with the ballroom, maybe he should be a little bit more concerned about this.
Because of more expensive fuel and tariff-impacted goods. So let's take a little look at this with Harry Enton to run the numbers on how Americans feel about a little check-in on how Donald Trump is handling the economy so far. How's he doing?
Yeah, my mama was a doctor, and I think she'd look at these numbers and say that Donald Trump's doing absolutely awful in the minds of the American people. What are we talking about? We're talking about new lows for Donald Trump. He's hit new lows for himself. Trump's economic net approval rating hits lows with these pollsters. CNBC, look at this. Down now, minus 13 points on the net approval rating on the economy. You come to this side of the screen, it's minus 19 points among Quinnipiac. And keep in mind, we're talking about hitting record lows for Donald Trump in either his first term, which of course ended back in 2021, or his second term, which is ongoing right now. The bottom line is Donald Trump is at the lowest point ever in either of his terms.
But compare it to presidents historically.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. Donald Trump is beating himself in the way you don't want to beat yourself, record lows, but let's compare it to other presidents. Well, let's take a look here. Okay, worst economic net approval ratings at this point among presidents since 1977. In the presidency, right, this is a new Donald Trump presidency. Look at this. He's the worst for any presidency at this point. How about the second term? Come to this side of the screen. Of course, Trump's in his second term. He's the worst for any president at their second term at this point. So Donald Trump isn't just beating himself with record lows. This is the lowest for any president ever at this point in either a presidency or for a second term. Donald Trump setting the types of records you simply put do not want to set.
Watch him.
I'm
Watch
like a Sherry
Harry
Ohtani of being a shitty president.
Nobody beats himself like Trump. He loves to beat himself.
Trump loves to be. That was what's her name? Kimberly Guilfoyle. Remember that? That was one of her screaming COVID speeches where there was no one in the audience. But yeah, I mean that's pretty bad. Like that's so. And Astead was saying this in our interview. We can talk about public opinion as it relates to Trump, and I think it's important to point it out, like in the way that No Kings is important, showing that he doesn't have a monopoly on a public opinion, that actually this is very unpopular, that if you get on board with opposing this fascist regime, you will have a majority of the American public on your side. That has importance. But we should also say that Trump is operating in a way where he's trying to insulate himself from public opinion, where it doesn't matter how the public reacts. It's not going to impact him. Yeah. And
Yeah, you can't hear anything through the glass we're going to put in that ballroom.
so it affects Republicans down ballot if the Democrats have a more robust opposition to it. But there you go. Wally concerns himself with the ballroom. The rest of the country's giving him record low approval.
If we play number 6 here, you'll see the kind of feedback Trump is getting.
Oh, I would like to see this.
35 seconds.
All right, let's do this. Here, here's what he's hearing as the plebeians are discontent with him driving the economy into the ground for the pettiest of reasons. This is what his closest advisor is saying.
Let me just say, Mr. President, that this country was going to die without you. This country was going to actually die without you. That's what we were facing in 2024. We've been invaded for 4 years. Our communities were sinking. Our public safety had gone to zero. Cartels were running entire communities.
It's so hysterical.
Sex trafficking, child trafficking, labor trafficking was out of control. Overdoses were out of control. The cartels were claiming more and more territory. City services were buckling. This was a country on the verge of dying, and you alone saved it. And when you...
All right, if you think that, and you're a man, I'll say that. You're a bitch.
Yeah.
You are hysterical. You need to get a goddamn grip.
But that's how he's gotten ahead, no pun intended, this far, right?
A giant five head.
I mean, gotten ahead and been on his knees for Donald Trump this whole time because that's what Trump wants to hear internally, and he's oriented his entire cabinet around flattery.
The sky is falling, and it's like if you say it racistly, people don't see it as like weak and embarrassing somehow.
Right. Also, what is labor trafficking?
Well, it's funny you should say that because it's something Trump knows about because the Trump Tower was built using undocumented labor.
Yep.
But as
Like
all of
Qatar
these,
style.
all of the FBI and the sort of detectives are put on, tracking down people that work in kitchens for 15 years and don't have documentation. They're pulling people off of like sex crimes. This is just this has been reported. You can Google this. Number of places that people who've been put on things like, I don't know, elite sex trafficking cabals. Let's move them on to look into like when that guy came over who's like making a tortilla.
Yeah. Let's do one here, and then we'll open up the phone lines. Ken Klippenstein has been doing really important reporting on the FBI, on the Trump administration, and particularly on this issue of NSPM7, which is this directive that told like federal law enforcement to target views that they view are of the radical left. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism is what's listed, anti-Christianity, extremism on gender, extremism I think on immigration was the other. The one that's bizarre, it's so Orban, and so, I mean, it's even just like Nazi. Extremism against the American family. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Basically means patriarchal Christian family structures. So that's another way to say gay people. Like, what extremism on gender, okay, we know you're talking about trans people. Extremism against the American family, all right, then we're talking about gay people, basically, or anybody that has like a non-traditional kind of relationship. And this is the concept of pre-crime that has been a part of, American life for a while, and surveillance, of course, by the FBI on civil rights activists for decades and decades, but like really codified and in its 21st century form and expanded upon in the modern surveillance state in the post 9/11 world via the Patriot Act. It's been essential to the construction of so-called counterterrorism, and it resulted in things like mass surveillance and what Edward Snowden was blowing the whistle on, etc. But it's bringing the more extreme surveillance tactics home. We saw that ICE is signing contracts, a flurry of them in recent weeks, including with Palantir, including with software that can read people's irises. And they're talking about using them at protests, which would be the implementation of what Ken has been writing about, the NSPM 7, treating anti-Trump protest and speech as essentially a national security threat because they're calling it left-wing extremism. And so Ken got a hold of this footage here. This is the FBI reportedly paying a visit to a person who went to a protest against ICE in Arizona.
Oh, I forgot these things. They keep talking. Hey, my name's James. I'm James Keefe. I'm with the FBI.
Hey, Miles. Nice to meet you, brother. Good. How you doing?
We came out here to ask you questions regarding a protest that happened on the 11th of June.
On the 11th?
Yeah.
What protest?
There was a protest out by the country club in Valencia area. And we've been just basically going around asking questions for a few people that were brought up, and your name was brought up.
You've been going around wasting government money, is what I would say you've been doing in a pink polo.
So,
Okay.
Let's see if you had a couple minutes to answer some questions regarding the protest that happened.
Yeah, who are you with?
I'm with the FBI. My name's
Okay.
James.
Okay.
So I just want to know if you have a few minutes to chat.
Yeah. Inside?
Yeah, go ahead, too. Yeah.
I got roommates. Can we do it
Oh,
outside?
yeah, absolutely.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah, don't let him come inside.
They don't have a warrant.
What a fucking joke. What is going...
Apparently, Ken writes, special needs teacher Miles Serafini, 26, was watching... Oh, this was... Yeah, here it is. Special needs teacher Miles Serafini, 26, was watching a movie with his roommate when the FBI knocked on his door in suburban Tucson, Arizona last Friday. 2 special agents greeted him, introducing themselves only as James and Keith. They didn't offer their own last names, but they knew Miles's, as well as his home address, his social media handles, what car he owns, and unbeknownst to him, his political activities. We came out here to ask you questions regarding a protest that happened on the 11th of June. One of the agents said in an exchange captured on a Ring camera provided to me by Serafini.
Your name was brought up. That could be just by the tracking they have on everyone's phone.
Exactly.
At the protest.
The suggestion that his name was brought up puzzled Serafini, who told me he didn't know anyone at the protest, which he'd learned about from a post on social media. When he asked the agents how they knew who he was, they wouldn't say. The one agent, Serafini said, later told him that they knew, quote, way more about me than I'd think. The exact scale of these FBI questionings is unclear, but I've heard similar accounts involving protesters in Portland and Chicago. The FBI declined to comment on Serafini's account, citing the government shutdown. Serafini attended an anti-ICE protest around the ICE facility in June so he could express his opposition to deportations, he told me.
Hell yeah.
ICE is impacting our community and people aren't happy, Serafini said. People see people around them being kidnapped and shipped away in cages and they show up to protest. It's as easy as that.
Yep.
The protest involved an estimated 300 people gathering near the ICE field office at East Valencia Road and South County Club Road in Tucson on June 11th. The demonstration started off peacefully but later became rowdy. As the crowd gathered at the ICE office, a smaller group of protesters began throwing objects, rocks, paintballs, fireworks, and smoke devices at what appeared to be security guards stationed outside the building. The guards responded with crowd control munitions. We never ended up playing this, but Jeff Merkley, senator from Oregon, had like some public statement basically saying that the Trump administration or people associated with them were staging protests or things like that to try to encourage a crackdown. Maybe can we find that? I would love Merkley's exact words, because it was a pretty incredible claim for a sitting United States senator to make. You don't typically hear those kinds of things, but I keep citing Trevor Aronson's reporting because it's so essential for people to educate themselves here. First of all, take precautions at these ICE protests. Bring a burner phone. I wouldn't bring your phone if you have the ability to. Cover your face. Don't bring any kind of weaponry that could be on you or anything sharp that they could try to get you on. Don't I wouldn't, advertise you being there on social media, for example. Take precautions, and most importantly, be very aware of people trying to get you to take some sort of violent action. Because as Aronson reported, the FBI was trying this and had informants trying to stoke violence under Trump 1.0 during the Black Lives Matter protests. So Elon Musk's original hairline says, I cannot stress this enough. Never speak to a federal agent without consulting an attorney, ever. It is a crime to lie to a Fed. And even if you don't lie, people have been charged because the Feds may seem like they were lying. Never speak to cops, period. But this goes double for Feds, criminal defense attorney. Yes, that's another good piece of advice. Ask for a lawyer. Future Reactionary says, thanks for covering the story. I think it's important to note that most activists don't want to admit to being questioned by Feds, but that silence on this front may lead to more behavior. Wet Ass Pelosi said, NSPM 7, Bannon, Palantir's involvement, the Supreme Court undoing the Voting Rights Act, a GOP operative buying Dominion voting systems, the Insurrection Act waiting in the wings. It's all lining up to make 26-28 mirror Russian elections. I mean, we have to be diligent in trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right. Oh, we have breaking news here. Hakeem Jeffries endorsed Zoran. Oh. We'll get to it. I'm going to open up the phone lines and then let's get to that. Opening up the
womp.
Ugh, who cares? Literally, it's less than a day before early voting starts.
Well, that's the thing is, like, he does it late because none of his donors can be mad then because Zoran basically had it sewed up anyway.
Yeah. Opening up the phone line, 646-257-3920. 629 area code pediatric says, can I please get a shofar for my goodest and floofiest boy turning 10 yesterday? I got Ozymandias von Foof and Poopin when he was 6. You are really, really into the pet cutesy names. I respect it, committing to the bit. When he was 6 weeks old, and I don't know that I would still be here if it weren't for him. Here you go. Here is your shofar. Elemental computing, do not talk to the cops unless you happen to have a lawyer representing yourself present. Yes. Labor Guy, did you guys see the video of Ro Khanna saying that the Progressive Caucus members don't have to give their opinion on Israel?
I just saw Crystal's tweet about that.
Can you find that?
Yeah.
Ro Khanna takes money from David Sachs and does fundraisers with him.
But this is him being good.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. No, this is him saying...
Did I misread the...
Yeah. So it's him on Crystal Conference exposing, apparently, that the House Progressive Caucus had or has an official rule against taking a position on Israel-Palestine. Here's the...
Wait, but didn't the Congressional Progressive Caucus come out in unison in terms of blocking arms to Israel? Am I making that up?
I mean, I guess let's see what he says.
Let's just... I'll read some... We'll take a call, and if you could find that for me before we play that, that would be great. I just don't want to spout off before I verified that. Calling from a 757 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Cody from Virginia.
Cody from Virginia. What's on your mind?
Hey, I've been really trying to wrap my brain around how we got here, how people just, they just don't pay attention to any fact finding.
Mm-hmm.
We don't pay attention to any facts. It's just, you can have a conversation online, or if you just read comments, whether it's Facebook or Reddit, and there's just, people are just posting the most insane things, and there's no fact checking. Nobody cares. They just deny it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how we got here.
Well, we got here because big tech is there's this whole clip of Bill oh my God, the guy from Bo Burnham talking about how they're trying to like colonize your mind in 2019, basically saying like all of your free time they're coming for. because of endless growth in capitalism and because we have not broken up these massive, massive tech conglomerates,
Yeah.
they need to constantly grow. And how do they grow? You never get off your phone. And if you're seeing a lot of inflammatory content, regardless of the veracity of what you're seeing, you are more likely to be on your phone.
And to look at it historically, like the media going back to the 1800s, it's all, people, you have to have money to have a printing press, so it's a capitalist enterprise. It was always extremely partisan back then, and often very inflammatory on bigoted lines. What we sort of are leaving, it was a time of monopoly and government regulation of capitalism, which is like, there's only a few channels because there's only so many airwaves you can fill up. In the radio, first on radio, then in television. And all that stuff was more buttoned down under the FCC and and also our capitalism wasn't as crazy in the mid-century either because of there was a lot less inequality. Now we're seeing massive inequality, and the rich people once again own all of the media and control it, and that's what you get.
Yep.
There's not a. It'd be nice if billionaires were so enlightened that they spent all their money on making sure the media was truthful. That's not. You look at the billionaires. Do you think any of them give a shit about that? Elon Musk, anybody?
Well, they want to
think that?
manipulate the masses into creating their network state where they surveil everybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they have.
Yeah.
I mean, they have at this point. It's gotten to the point to where average Americans, they just have no idea. They're not critically thinking. They're not fact checking. It's just people are going on and watching, they'll watch like this podcast, for example, not this podcast, but they'll watch their podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if their
Well, even this
podcast isn't
podcast,
fact checking,
we can't be right about everything. I mean, we can't be people. It's cool to be fans of shows, right? Like, and we love that people are fans of the show. Please keep watching, but please don't let us not be the only show you watch or the only media you consume. Like,
also watch Harry Emden.
You watch Harry Emden and read the paper and good papers, right? Like, I mean,
Financial Times.
Yeah, the Financial Times is good. I know that there's a lot of layoffs coming to the Washington Post. I still think of the legacy papers, they've done the best job in recent years. But yeah, read The Nation, read Slate. I mean, magazines are important too. So that's my advice on that front.
Right. And Tish James got arraigned here where I'm from today. That was happening here. So that's been fun.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, it's just the extremism of the racism and the targeting of her like this. It's really, really dark Nazi stuff. So appreciate the call.
It's gone. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. Calling from a 480 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Alex from Phoenix.
Alex from Phoenix.
Yeah, I've called in before. I'm running in Arizona's 8th congressional district.
Oh yeah. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How's your race going?
Going pretty good. Momentum every week. I just want to give a campaign update because I've got some people that listen to the show that support me. I actually had one of them come out to my most recent meeting with the LD28 Democrats Tuesday night, and it was really cool to meet him in person. I just wanted to update. We got volunteers signed up, over 100 individual contributions. I'm going to be starting canvassing November 1st. I've got over 100 petitions before even starting canvassing signed. Just a lot of momentum going. Really feel like I'm going to be the nominee, and I'm doing my best to reach out to people like David Hogg. But just any help that I can get would be really awesome because I'm the only young person in this race that's really going to bring the change to the Democratic Party that we need to win. Like I said, just really want anybody who's listening, who's in the area, in Phoenix who wants to help out, visit my website, smothersforarizona.com, and let's get the young people elected that we know we need.
Smothersforarizona.com. Check it out, folks. Alex Smothers for the U.S. House of Representatives in Arizona's 8th District. Appreciate the call. Thanks for the update.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Matt from PA says, "Hi, Alex. I follow you on Instagram. You're doing great from what I see." That's awesome. Jody from Chicago, Illinois ICE News. A judge ruled ICE has to wear and turn on body cams and that they are not allowed to detain people in or outside courthouses. If they do not follow this ruling, agents can be arrested by local police. But so far, I've yet to see it enforced. A judge also ruled Greg Bovino has to take a deposition to explain the violence towards citizens. That's good. I mean, I know that Tish James is also here in New York setting up a tip line for ICE abuses where you can upload videos of that stuff. Happy to see local officials in these cities step up. And that's where we're really getting much of our leadership right now. Count of Sorts. Are you still considering making a review or discussion for One Battle After Another? I saw it this week and might go back to see it again this weekend. I mean, I feel like we could quickly say our thoughts since the three of us have seen it. I've seen it twice now myself. Matt's a Thomas Pynchon fan.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed it.
I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, I've seen some. I understand some of the critiques of the portrayal of Perfidia. I think Tiana Taylor is just such a star that she made her presence so felt throughout the rest of the film that, like, it was the most emotional Paul Thomas Anderson film it ever made me. I cried the second time I watched it too at the end with, I won't say what it is for the spoiler, the letter, but it's just like the film is so gorgeous. The way he shoots it, the creativity of the chase scenes, the way that the characters are almost farcical at the beginning, but you grow with them and they become either menacing or, like, you know, a character you really love and root for towards the end. He does this all the time. I mean, where there's this comedic element that sort of turns into something more serious and emotional. I thought that the portrayal of activism was really, really important in this moment. It was a movie that believes in left-wing activism, but it contrasts like the solidarity network that the Benicio del Toro character kind of represents versus a more self-serving version of activism that is portrayed in the earlier part of the film. And I thought that lesson in and of itself was really essential in this moment and incredibly prescient, because he filmed this before he knew Donald Trump was winning in 2024. So it's the best movie I've seen in theaters in a really long time.
The Christmas Adventures Club was a great addition,
Yes.
not in the book, that I thought made it really, PTA putting his own stamp on it in a really great way.
The way that, right, the mockery of white supremacists as being stupid idiots that are obsessed with their own little club, and how silly the name was, but also the menacing nature of it. Balancing that tone is just so difficult. And I think it's my favorite PTA movie. I know that's crazy to say because I love Boogie Nights. I love There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread. Like, those are some of my favorite films of all time. But yeah, it was really that good in my view. I hope that's enough of a review. We should have gotten it out there though, because like that's where Ben Shapiro is always like doing those first so that they can get ahead of the culture.
He does that. I would want to. Well, I'll just say, like, I wouldn't be a happy person. I'd be depressed if that was my life. To having to go like, oh, Cardi B has a new single, "Wet Ass Pussy," so I'm gonna get like, I'm gonna what, humiliate myself with my horrible take, contrary take to like things that are popular.
Yeah. Tom from Raleigh, speaking of petty, have you considered how your Plattner takes make Anna Kasparian feel? That's what's most important. Okay, so I saw the first part of what the Vanguard covered, and she said we ruined her life, which was so funny to me. I'm sorry.
She said this about you.
Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
I just didn't realize that our mild critiques after we initially defended her ruined her life. I mean, the amount of victimization, self-victimization, is amazing to me.
And I don't look at us as having stolen any audience. I look at audience having been bequeathed to us by a whole bunch of horrible decisions.
maybe a malnourished audience.
But the horrible decisions, that would require self-reflection. It's much easier to blame us, and apparently we're nobodies, but also getting really under their skin to the point where they can't help but bring us up in a story that has nothing to do with
and
us.
Saga, too.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. But, I mean, he's a conservative. I'm not shocked he's annoyed by me.
It's just funny to be, I don't know, maybe you stick to the issue, but...
Well, look, I put myself out there on this stuff. Sometimes it creates a situation where I get criticism, but it's my personality. I'm very passionate. I think, like, on this issue, I just wanted us to be a little bit more focused. And my baseline of, like, what I support in a candidate is if they're for things like Medicare for All, they don't take corporate PAC money. They take only small dollar contributions. And, you know, if Plattner had been anti-trans in his past posts and then had apologized for it, my reaction would be the same. So I'm not sure what the critique is. And then, you know, like a candidate like Dan Osborne, we were very supportive of that. Even when he didn't have maybe the same positions that we had socially, we had many segments on that. We said it's important mostly that he has union backing and that he could win in the state where having a D next to your name is not viable. So it's not a purity test, but I do think that, like, yeah, if you are anti-trans and you're not repentant about it as a candidate, yeah, I'm going to be extremely critical of it. But that's not because that's human rights for me. That's where I draw the line. People draw lines in different places. That's where I do. Nina in Norfolk. ICE chased somebody into traffic here in Norfolk yesterday. Guy was struck and died at the scene. Jesus.
If you look up our coverage of Dan Osborne, the candidate could spoil Republican Senate plans, Luke Goldstein. Can Nebraska flip the Senate? John Nichols.
Yeah, that's what Sauber's critique was.
He's got a really good shot. Independent Senate candidate impresses in Nebraska.
And he kept calling Graham a Brooklyn liberal, like me, Emma. But you know, I'll take that, man. So I'll be a little Brooklyn leftist or whatever. It must bother him so much that I smoke pot.
Right, yeah.
That's something he's very against.
Yeah, Brooklyn leftists, they really remind me of Graham Plattner. What the fuck? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So dumb.
Regarding the ICE thing, though, that is horrific, and I think, unfortunately, it's going to have to take, like, an innocent bystander or a citizen getting killed for people to, like, really get, like
a white baby, probably.
Yeah,
right,
you know?
Right. I mean, but it is, and it's also just like the way that they're responding to their constituency for the Republican base of, like, the people that came out for January 6th and flew out. Like, they're all suburban, fairly wealthy white people that love
they
Trump.
were all upper middle class.
And so the ICE stuff where they're targeting cities, they're entirely insulated from it. I mean, and they watch it like a video game, and many of them enjoy it. But it's the fact they are going into cities on purpose, and they are going to particular communities on purpose. Max the Bailey said, "You ruined my life by being right about Trey Lance, Emma." Yeah, I was 100% right about Trey Lance. Not good.
One guy, one time.
Kyle Shanahan can't make you good. You're terrible.
You're terrible. I mean, is he even in the league anymore? I guess he's back up to Herbert. Biding my time. TUIT insisting on keeping a genocide denier on air put me over the edge with them. I'd be souring on them for a while, but that was too much. Kentucky leftist. I love that you guys watch Silly and Billy over at the Vanguard. Those two do pretty good work. Yeah, those guys are great. I also just have to check the first when I'm like, ugh, what is being said about me? I'll check the first
in the headline.
30 seconds. I'm like, okay, I get the gist. And then I don't want to spend the rest of my night watching a video about myself because that might make me insane. And I'm already pretty insane. I think it's good. Killer clown with cotton candy. Living in Nebraska, I would like to think Osborne has a shot, but Ricketts has the money and so far has managed to win or obtain elected positions by fluke. Osborne came close last time, and the conditions are better, and the economy is really, really going to be hurting, and farmers are hurting. If Osborne can connect on that, then we have a chance.
Osborne outperformed generic Democrats.
Yep. Exactly right. It's just the question is, can he do it again? And does he have the benefit of the doubt of not being like a real Democrat in that instance, given the fact that it's been more time and people have been more introduced to him? All right, do we have Jeffries finally endorsing?
It's a New York Times article, but I sent it in the chat there.
Okay.
Zohran Mamdani has relentlessly focused on addressing the affordability crisis and explicitly committed to being a mayor for all New Yorkers, including those who do not support his candidacy. In that spirit, I support him.
In that spirit?
And the entire citywide Democratic ticket in the general election.
Can you word search foreign policy in that New York Times article? Because that's what his critique is. You know, the mayor's position on foreign policy.
Yeah,
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, earlier in the day, he was like basically teasing this and declining to endorse, and had said that his disagreements with Zohran in another interview with Bloomberg were centered around foreign policy.
Specifically, the policy of
Israel.
wanting to arrest a guy that I take pictures with for campaign donations and Bibi Netanyahu.
I mean, this doesn't matter at all. Early voting starts tomorrow. He did it less than 24 hours before.
I wish he didn't.
Me too.
Yeah.
I absolutely wish he didn't. I hope Chuck Schumer, I hope he does not.
Yep, keep quiet.
Keep
Chuck.
marginalizing yourself within the party. I don't even know what do we have to say about this? There's nothing to say.
Jay Jacobs should not be the state party chairman.
Yeah.
Because he won't endorse Mamdani. Shouldn't be there. And citing the candidate's democratic socialist beliefs, which is the one thing that sort of that could possibly redeem this broken, corrupt party that just did a genocide in front of everyone's fucking face during an affordability crisis. And his sharp criticism of Israel, which is why one of the reasons people like him, because he's willing to be sharply critical of something that requires sharp criticism.
What should we do here? Okay, let's do this ad. So, the Cuomo campaign during the debate tweeted out an ad that was made by, you guessed it, AI. Insanely racist. And then they had to delete it. Yeah. But like Zohran Mamdani has criticized rightly Andrew Cuomo for using AI in his ads because this is a city that is filled with artists and people looking for work in New York.
It's one of the main reasons you move here.
Exactly. And you're going to be somebody that just like types a bunch of crap into a computer for your like heavily racist ad.
Like it's a shame
at least hire people to make your racist ad, okay?
Like they go back like Scandinavia, like a lot of that was the Scandinavian socialism was set in by a system where labor had extreme power, even to the point of intimidating any business owner that would go against what they say, and like hire scabs or whatever. It's a shame that labor isn't more powerful, that it can't intimidate somebody away from using this AI, which is just replacing, again, a huge portion of this city, the creative sort of class of this city.
Yeah.
It's entirely threatened by this.
And there's no reason that this campaign would have to be cheap about this. Right. They literally have
What's the money for?
Unlimited money from Bill Ackman and Mike Bloomberg and all of these Zionist donors that are terrified of a Muslim person leading the city, and also, of course, rich people who are afraid that there's a precedent that may be set that he increases their taxes by 2%. As Zohran Mamdani said in that interview with Andrew Schultz, Ackman, he is alluding to Ackman, is spending more money against me than I would even tax him. And that says it all, right? It's racism that motivates it, and it's the precedent. We cannot let these politics win and show the masses that this kind of thing is possible, that you can win as a democratic socialist, and you can win by being unambiguous about human rights, anti-genocide, and targeting capitalism in a very specific way. So they had to delete this ad. But let's see if we can keep a tally on the amount of like racist caricatures that they included in this. If Zoran Mamdani came out with an ad, he would never use AI. But an ad that included caricatures of Jewish people in the way that this ad is chock full of racist depictions of others, it would be a national story that would never go away, and he would probably have to bow out of the race.
Zoran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual supporters think?
Mamdani isn't crazy.
He's just trying to even the playing field.
You know, give everyone a fair shot. Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct.
So that's what a Long Islander thinks a pimp looks like in 2025. He's wearing the Party City pimp outfit in the AI-generated video.
It looks like Iceberg Slim or something.
So, he is so that there are two black men that are featured in this ad. This guy's a pimp, okay? There will be another hint as to what the other black guy in the ad is doing later on. They included this grandmother for comedic effect.
I just like the grandmother who is looking out the side of her window talking to a camera that's apparently like in the lane next to it.
What's amazing is that they are ripping off an SNL ad from, I think, like 2017. SNL had, I think that's what they're doing. SNL did this ad where, or like the sketch fake ad, where it was like showed a bunch of people that were talking about how Trump's going to make their life better. They were ironing, they were chopping logs. And then the back half is they zoom out and they show they're putting logs on a fire to burn books, or they're ironing a KKK outfit. Right. So just to give people, they're ripping off an SNL ad, and these people are about to be something different than how they appear.
Metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct, but that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting.
Okay, pause it.
Third degree
there
assault.
There you go. You spot it? That is a black man in a keffiyeh stealing from a pharmacy.
That's what I love. I always do my thefts. It's important.
You put the keffiyeh on. And the mask, right? Because those people are COVID conscious and hiding their faces, which is also terrorism.
So this I was worried about this guy from the start, to be to be honest.
Really, really sweaty. And where is he?
degree assault, trespassing, prostitution.
We got it. You're a pimp.
And drunk driving.
With plans to decriminalize all drugs, Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health facilities we need, he wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts.
These are actual policies Mamdani...
This is a whole different black guy in a keffiyeh.
Same diff.
Okay.
And the DSA want to implement on day one.
When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help, kumbaya the situation.
No, we'll just have to deal with Andrew Cuomo
Breathe in.
groping her.
Breathe out.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences. Guilty!
Wait, can you pause
But
this
Mamdani
actually?
says...
What is the constituency for people that want cops to show up to domestic violence incidents? Like, it's not saying no one shows up. It's saying somebody who doesn't have a gun that could shoot somebody shows up.
Yeah.
Because
I also think Mamdani would say that cops would show up to a violent situation.
Right.
Right. But it was like the initial call or something. I forget his exact policy.
Because
that goes
cops
along
don't
it.
fix
Mental health
problems.
crises.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Nobody thinks cops solve fucking problems.
Exactly.
Like, I've heard people get bikes stolen, all this stuff. They don't fucking do shit. They clearance rate on any of this stuff. They don't do anything.
And that's what's been so good about his reframe, and it's about basically taking things like this off their plate. It's a win-win for the police and for the people who may not have to be on the other end of a police brutality situation because the police are not equipped to deal with this. So
you should absolutely have an entire different type of first response than fucking pigs.
Free to go.
Woo-hoo!
Who cares if legalizing prostitution statistically leads to an increase for sex trafficking of women and young girls by 70%?
I don't know
have safety
about
without
that.
equality.
For unlawful abiding citizens like us, globalize the intifada.
I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal.
For Zoran.
For Zoran Mamdani.
I didn't have a real job until I was 30, but sure, give me the keys to the city. What's the worst that can happen?
Paid for by Cuomo for NYC.
Ah, kind of looks like 9/11.
Zoran.
Does it not?
How about an ad? Has he ever said one thing that he's for?
No.
What is one thing? All I'd say is there better be massive embezzlement in this campaign, because if they're actually spending all of that money and this is all they're producing.
I think that's I hope for like just to make it make sense in my mind. It might be too much for me to handle if like I'm seeing that this amount of money is going to this garbage. But Mark Monkey points out safe injection sites to do crack. Crack is smoked. Am I wrong?
You can inject crack. I'm sorry. Don't make me talk about this.
Okay, I won't.
I'm just saying you can shoot crack.
That sounds like heart attack city, I gotta say. Shooting crack? I guess you can shoot meth too, so that might be even worse. Well,
does that mean that everything that I think about the universe is wrong?
Mike, you love those keys to the city Zoran is holding look pretty old. You guys need to update your infrastructure. Sent with laser says AI art is often so unsettling. This gives me the willies real bad. Bingo Dango, I have my bike stolen on camera and the cops wouldn't even watch the video. They just said there's nothing we can do.
Exactly. And it's like, when I hear cops and domestic violence in the same sentence, I don't think of them responding to domestic violence. I think of them perpetuating it or perpetrating it.
Gotcha. Make fun, have fun again. PSA, those protesting ICE at Coast Guard Island in Oakland, CA, please exercise caution. Coast Guard Island is an active military base. Just last night, feds Coast Guard police shot at a U-Haul truck backing into the entrance road. Again, Coast Guard Island is an active military base and they will use lethal force. Thank you. Saber Drake. Do New Yorkers call them subway carts? Is that what was in the ad?
I didn't hear that, but no.
I didn't hear it. Yeah, I've never heard that term.
No, definitely not carts. It's cars. Subway cars.
Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
Here. On that front, we'll just wrap up our New York City segment with this endorsement from Eric Adams.
New York can't be Europe, folks. I don't know what is wrong with people. You see what's playing out in other countries because of Islamic extremism. Not Muslims. Let's not mix this up. But those Islamic extremisms that are burning churches in Nigeria, that are destroying communities in Germany, that have taken over the logical thinkings. And that's what I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for the family of New York. That's why I'm here today, to endorse Andrew Cuomo to be part of this fight. And I'm going to give him my all these next few days.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
These
next few days.
That's me in school.
I'm going to try really hard for the next 15 minutes.
Global intifada. Something simple as a crack pipe, a used crack pipe.
That might be one of the last times we can use
What was the thinkins thing you said there? I gotta get
Logical thinkins.
Yeah. So he's that is maybe even more racist than Cuomo saying that Zoran would celebrate 9/11.
I'm honestly shocked by the sort of Nazi racism of that. Because when I first said we can't be Europe, I thought he was being racist, but against white people like me. I thought it was like a gentrification thing, and I was a bit confused. And then it's just the thing Nazis have been saying about Europe committing suicide by Muslims having to seek asylum there because, I don't know, something happened in the Middle East.
He's literally doing great replacement theory, Eric Adams, just casually, and accusing Zoran of ushering it in, and then pivoting to Nigeria after speaking about Europe. You know what?
He got some deals in Nigeria.
Nigeria is his new Turkey, right?
New York is the Nigeria of America.
I wonder what his bank account looks like now. If he,
I was gonna guess 5 million. If Sliwa was offered 10,
yeah,
I'm guessing 5 for Adams.
I would guess 5 for Adams because Adams was a dead man walking a little bit. But I would love to know, like, he will be on some board in the next few months, and we'll be able to determine what kind of money has bought him off, besides, of course, Ackman and the Zionist lobby.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
that have taken over the logical thinkings.
logical thinkings. The logical thinkings. That almost sounded like folksy Southern. The logical thinkings.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but it's probably a cue card that he's reading as they just deposit another $1 million into his bank account.
He just does not want Zoran to globalize the frittata.
Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
Yes. Zoran also put out a montage of all of those things that Andrew, that Adams had
He's
said
wearing
about
a
Andrew
New York
Cuomo.
or nowhere hat. What are the odds he doesn't live in New York like in 6 months?
He didn't live in New York when he won the mayoral race.
Exactly.
He was living in New Jersey. That was the scandal. New York or nowhere, so I guess it's gonna be nowhere. I'll get nowhere fast. That was really, really racist. Basically, Zoran is bringing Muslims to pollute this great city with impurity. I mean, how is that racist?
Who really says the you don't want to be like Europe thing? It is supporters of Israel.
Right. I would love to be like Europe, by the way.
Europe's great.
Fast trains.
Amazing trains.
Most countries have
I took
some
a train
sort
from
of
Madrid
universal...
to Valencia.
Yeah.
It was the future.
I mean,
you can eat bread every day and it's fine.
Yes.
I don't know why their bread's
I
different.
lost weight in Italy, and I was drinking like a fish and eating everything.
I know, we heard it.
Oh my
Love you
God!
guys, you don't have to say it back.
The train, yes. That was fun. But the trains there are amazing. I mean, God, you can get from city to major city express like hour and a half. It's just, I wish we could be more like Europe.
But our GDP is better than theirs, so.
Hell yeah! But we got AI data centers polluting our water. Did they have that? All right.
They don't even have Six Flags.
I know. They don't even have strip malls that look exactly the same in Ohio as they do in South Carolina.
Yeah. I want to be in Delaware and be like, am I in North Dakota?
It doesn't get you all confused, the architecture. It's all the same. They don't even have the amount of parking lots we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of all the interchanges we have.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it. They don't even say, what exit do you live off of? They'll say, like, what town they're from. Calling from a 314 area code. Who's this where you're calling from? 314. Bye! Calling from an
one time.
Calling from an 813 area code. Who's this where you're calling from?
Hey, this is Matt in Roanoke. Can you hear me?
Matt in Roanoke. Yes, I can hear you. What's on your mind?
Hey, I wanted to shout out a podcast that's been amazing called I Hate Bill Maher.
Yeah.
It's
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. He goes back to the beginning of real time in 2003, and it's kind of this retrospective chronicle of the war in Iraq at the same time, because he's looking at those episodes. But it's just
Well, I would actually love
hilarious.
to listen to that because I'm ashamed to say I was a Bill Maher fan during that time period as I was like experimenting with atheism, and that was very tied into like Iraq war opposition. I mean,
you like 8?
I was
watching Bill Maher.
I was a loser. I don't know what to tell you. But yes, I would love to check that out.
And a quick anecdote that just it's so scary with ICE agents and anyone wearing masks. I was doing something, illegal-ish years ago. And these two guys came out from nowhere wearing masks. One had a sort of police badge necklace and a gun, and they set him under arrest for drugs. It was a drug thing. And it just didn't seem right. It had a ski mask on, one of them. There was an unmarked car.
Psycho.
To this day. Yeah. I mean, I literally fought them off and ran away. But to this day, I have no idea. I have no idea if it's legitimate. And just seeing all these dudes on the street, like, it's so unsafe.
Yeah.
I mean, typically I'd say it sounded like you were getting jumped, but yeah, the recent images, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's completely unsafe, but the safety is not the object. Terror is the object. Like, they want to strike fear into people and into communities. Like, that is they want you to feel like nowhere is safe. They also want to feel like if you're caught, you are going to be put in the torture dungeon, which is very likely that that's the case. And they need to instill fear in a certain segment of the population because they're unable to deliver on the economic kind of messaging, or at the very least counter messaging that rode Trump to a sub 50% popular vote victory, but yes, a swing state sweep. Still, though, it's much more paper thin than they like to portray.
Yeah, we're getting jumped by the government. It's
basically.
All right, thank you. Left is best.
Thanks. Appreciate the call.
There's like so much I would love to know about being a 21-year-old girl.
Did you?
I just want to know just 3 things he wants to know.
Yeah.
About being a 21-year-old girl.
He's like, he just wants to would want to be a 21-year-old girl and just play with his boobs all day.
In the mirror.
Yeah. Yep. How old is he, by the way?
I think either 8 or 80.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
That was about the Hawk Tuah girl, and he was talking to her all hornily and breathily.
Yeah, I think I've blocked out the actual horrible things he did, in fact, say to her. There was some weird stuff, though, if memory serves. I'm going to have to look that up now.
Congressional baseball fan. New York can't be Europe, but Turkey has been trying to be Europe for decades, and Eric Adams has no problem with taking their money. The anti-Muslim hate he's finding common cause with in Germany is largely aimed at Turkish immigrants, too. It's weird, isn't it? The hypocrisy at this point. I can, you can't.
He's a paid actor. He doesn't have any opinions on anything. He doesn't give a shit.
No.
You want me to read this
Simple
logical
crack
thinking
pipe.
thing?
Something simple as Trump change. He sounds as coherent as Tracy Morgan. Tracy's doing a character a little bit. Like, Tracy knows what he's doing in public. He's never breaking character. So
Tracy's actually British.
Eric Adams.
Shakespearean.
Yes, yeah. He's trained in what's the
Globe.
London School. Yeah.
Got to see his Macbeth.
I'm pretty sure that Eric can't turn this off. He's just that dumb.
Eric Adams would be funny to see on stage as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I would let him just go off.
Othello.
On Uday and Kusei Lutnick says, I am a Majority Report commenter. I am Fart Twain. I am Edward Gregorian. I am Uday and Kusei Lutnick. Okay.
One guy, one time.
Ramona Frankenstein. I got called racist last night for a video I posted on TikTok making fun of Andrew Cuomo and Christopher Columbus. After watching that ad, I feel like wasn't racist enough towards Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, you don't want to be. It's anti-Italian discrimination.
Hey, I'm big. I'm Italian.
I saw this. I got in a fight with a New York Post writer over the weekend, and because he's like, Zoran's answer about the parades was actually the most revealing one, because he's saying he won't be a mayor for all New Yorkers, and he mentioned the Israel one, the India one, and Zoran's mentioned why his problems with Modi. People can look that up.
Yeah.
Very principled and based on history.
Also, as a Muslim person of Indian origin,
Yeah, no
that
shit.
from it, yeah.
Do a little math there. And also mentioned the Columbus Day Parade.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, easy on the racism, Z-Man.
Yeah, so he's not going to go to a Hindu nationalist parade that's anti-Muslim potentially. Not going to go to the glorified 21st century Nazi rally for frickin' Israel. And
That we're proud of ourselves for doing a genocide rally.
Right. And then what's the third one?
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day,
'Cause
right.
that's,
What
for
did
the
he do?
Italian- Did Italians see Columbus?
No.
Okay, I never really felt it that way in North Dakota, but maybe that's because there wasn't a large Italian community.
I know a lot of Italians. My husband
is
is
my
Italian.
day.
I don't think it's ever come up. Ever.
What are you doing for him on Columbus Day?
Yeah. Shit, I forgot to get him a gift.
Got him a sausage.
The idea that, yeah, I mean,
Got him a slice of pizza. Want to say it on mic?
No.
Okay. Let's do this and then we'll wrap up here. What number is this? Just so I can. Oh, okay, 17. This is interesting. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is running for has higher ambitions. We keep saying this, and G Tier had the best analysis of this, saying that she is doing what Trump did in 2016, setting herself up for 2028, regardless if that's like governor, senate, or president or whatever. She's saying the things that the MAGA base, especially the young online MAGA base, is concerned about with Trump, and is getting ahead of it so she has credibility with them going forward. Is she going to do anything to meaningfully change anything? It appears absolutely not.
it's just like Trump when he said, we can't leave people dying in the street.
Yeah.
Just get rid of Obamacare. That'd be so horrible.
And she is, being, and it's appreciated, I would say, even though the undertones and the way it's framed, I do not like. It is right-wing. It is Christian nationalist.
It's never for the Palestinians.
Exactly. And if it is, it's more just about
Christian ones.
For Christian, yes. So, but it is important that she's saying this. I do think that. I do believe that. But it's important to note that she's literally the only Republican to break from Israel, on a voting record, and even all of those other far right crazies in the House. She's on an island because there is no political constituency in the Republican Party that is going to be as potent and as forceful and as impactful as the left-wing pro-Palestine movement. And that's why you've seen the Congressional Progressive Caucus in its entirety endorse the Block the Bombs Act. So just to give people a sense of where change can actually happen on this front. Marjorie Taylor Greene is playing a game, and we shouldn't launder her when she's obviously setting herself up for something greater for her career. But this is pretty damn funny. And so, yes, we've talked about how she has broken with the Republicans on the issue of Israel because this is how young online Republicans are reacting. There's also this Argentina story about the $40 billion bailout that Trump is sending to Milei because he crashed the currency over, destroying the administrative state and unleashing the private sector, which is exactly what the Trump administration is trying to do. And in the private sector, a bunch of Trump's buddies have investments in Argentina. So he is sending billions and billions of dollars of American taxpayer money to help prop up his buddy. And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene on Tucker Carlson's show with her thoughts on that.
Let's take, for example, this $40 billion bailout for Argentina. That's probably one of the grossest things I've ever seen. And I have no idea who is telling our great president, our America First president,
okay, pause
that this is a good idea.
Who is telling him? This is what is so annoying about this stuff. And Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, they are all engaging in this. They never assign agency to Donald Trump. It's everybody around him that's giving him bad advice. It's Kash Patel and Pam Bondi that's covering up the Epstein files. It's not Trump, who's implicated in them.
And the pictures.
With pictures. Who was Epstein's best friend for a decade. who is like literally telling Mike Johnson, you cannot swear in Grijalva because she is the 218th vote on the Epstein files, and we have to block that, even though the base would not be in favor of that. Like, blame Donald Trump. These are his actions. Is he a strongman, or is he the weakest guy ever that's just being led around? Pick a lane.
I personally think he's a vehicle for divine providence.
Well,
this is a good idea because honestly, it's a punch in the gut to all of our American cattle ranchers, and they are furious, and rightfully so. And at the same time, I can't think of another country that's further away from the United States of America than Argentina. It's literally at the bottom of South America in the Southern Hemisphere, and we're all the way up here at the top. I don't know how that's America first.
Okay, but like...
Well, explain to me why it's called South America, Marjorie.
Yeah. Counterpoint. See, how you're like making the right case, but making it in the dumbest possible way. That's kind of her bread and butter, right? To talk around the issue. No, it's not about because it's so far away from us in proximity. It's because this is about Trump being corrupt. Right.
Right. Like,
would it be better? Would it be better if he sent it to Cuba? I don't really understand. You know, that would be base.
Let's just contrast a couple clips. Here's Trump asked on Air Force One last week about this.
Oh, well, we played this before, but it's worth playing it again because of how he reacts to this reporter asking it when as Marjorie Taylor Greene pretends that this is not coming from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
What do you mean by being? Question is,
they are dying. Dead.
This was just 2 weeks prior.
Oh, well, it was after the 20 billion was announced, and then
this is them dying.
Then this is the. I mean, your ears are about to die. But after this, Trump announced the 40 billion. So he must have been really won over by this performance. No, keep going. All right, I think I had enough. I just wanted a little bit more. Not a great stage presence, honestly.
Little bit just knock off Springsteen.
A little bit.
I said it was like Tom Waits covering Chuck Berry. That's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, it sounds like karaoke night at the old folks' home, but that too. Also, another contrast, 16 on the sound sheet, because this is how like traditional Republicans are reacting to this. Just a contrast into how Marjorie Taylor Greene is setting herself up for something in the future with like the MAGA movement. Because if Trump is eventually gonna die, he's old as shit, and
that's what you think.
Is in poor health.
I've been conserving all of my life units up. I'm not doing it.
By being do you know how many years off my life I could have shaved if I walked instead of using the golf cart on the course? My battery would be completely at 5% right now. Here's Senator Roger Marshall talking about his take instead, or his take on the bailout of Argentina.
The president has floated the idea of, and the Treasury Secretary, potentially a bailout of Argentina that could be $20 billion or more dollars. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, look, again, I think that the president here is playing chess and not checkers. I think we need to think about the impact, the role of China has in South America.
Remember three-dimensional chess in the Obama years?
Actually, I'm playing tic-tac-toe.
Chess. Oh, which one is this? The queen? That's the most powerful piece on the board. I don't like that. I want the king to be able to go around wherever he wants.
King me.
King can only go one space to the right and to the left and to the front. That's not what I like.
It's matriarchal.
Yeah. It's a little bit woke,
Now,
Chess.
Kansas, for folks who don't know, is the third livestock, in terms of livestock industry, it is number 3 in the entire nation.
But Argentina needed it more.
Look, Kansas.
That's what the chessboard
You don't
said.
want people in Argentina to be, I don't know, like not allowed to go to concerts.
Yeah, come on. They're dying. They're dying without the musical talents of Millet. They're dying.
Or more dollars. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, look, again, I think that the president here is playing chess and not checkers. I think we need to think about the impact, the role China has in South America. So this is one more way that President Trump is trying to push China out of the Americas. Look, if you want to start having more and more rare earth minerals come into this country, Argentina is a great place to do that. So I think this is an opportunity to make a friend, to help an ally out as well. So I think that by letting them sell a little bit of beef in this country to maybe replace some of that was coming to Brazil. And again, all we're importing is hamburger from Argentina and these other countries. We don't make enough hamburger. So I think this is a great time for us to make a stand in South America and push China out of South America.
Okay, but in part, we have a shortage in part because of the tariffs that Trump slapped on Brazil, which was one of our top beef imports. We imported a lot of beef from there, but Trump slapped tariffs on Brazil because the Brazilian government prosecuted his friend Jair Bolsonaro for doing a coup.
I'm trying to think of trying to put myself in the position of a farmer, a rancher in Kansas. What the fuck do I care about getting China out of Argentina? What the fuck do I care about that?
You don't care about rare earth minerals?
Yeah.
No.
Right. Well, but when they say keep China out, I actually thought that was revealing because we've talked about that being such an important part of the Middle East policy. Like we've already drilled and colonized so much of that land, right? And or have like these puppet undemocratic leaders that are responsive to us, and it's less about their resources more than just like making sure that China doesn't have as many access to their resources. They're using the same thing in South America.
The whole China breakdown, like the idea that like a rancher in Kansas has to sacrifice in our fight against China. No, rich people need to cough up money that we need to invest into industries just like China is doing. And until we do that, they're going to continue to clean our fucking clocks. And we're going to have to beg and throw money at people to try to stop them from doing business with them.
Right. And also the reason that ranchers are hurting is because of the insane monopoly power of meat packers. Like something like, 4 companies control 80% of the packing. So like the ranchers are beholden to those industries in a way that and Trump is probably thrilled about. And that's what these tariffs are going to do. The more mom and pop shops like this, businesses are going to fall by the wayside and then get gobbled up by conglomerates and monopoly power. So like everybody that pretended like Josh Hawley was representative of how this administration would pursue antitrust. I mean, look at the Paramount, look at the Skydance merger.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what they're trying to do with these local TV conglomerates. This is how they're trying to implement fascism. They are hyper driving the economy and also immiserating folks that businesses that don't have the margins or the capital to withstand some of these things, so that they go under and they get gobbled up too. And then these major corporations are beholden to the Trump administration that got them to that point where they made all this money. That's how he's currying favor with them. Because it's not like he can do it by like actually implementing policy that would make our economy grow. Everything is about coming to the king and consolidating power. That's it. And I mean,
you're part of that. If you're like a rancher or a farmer, like you're gonna have to make sacrifices because they're political buddies and they're allies that have a larger vision for what the world is going to look like in 10 to 20 years. They have a vision, and you just got to play into it. So you know what? Eat some Argentine hamburger.
Yep. All right, folks, no more time for calls. I'm so sorry. We did get to a good amount today, but going to read some IMs and get out of here.
One guy, one time.
Dumb Hog says, I am totally fine with this as long as I get my hamburger. If you keep the hamburger lanes open, I'm fine with anything they do. This guy, 987, says, is there unobtainium in Argentina?
That's the other thing is, if we're so concerned about rare earths, maybe we should develop a better relationship with China.
Maybe. Also, I love unobtainium, the unobtainium reference. That was, I believe, the Avatar. The writing of James Cameron. Very subtle. The rare earth metal is called unobtainium, or the alien resource. Verbonia, y'all are playing checkers while Trump is playing Mousetrap.
He's playing Hungry Hungry Hippo. That's what he's playing.
Dogtober 7th says, but don't understand why liberals... I really don't understand why liberals are freaking out over Graham Plattner's old tattoo. The Ukrainian military is covered in swastikas tattoos, and liberals still support giving them billions of dollars in weapons. Be consistent.
But that's why left wing, or because that's where I've seen the Totenkopf before. Now that I saw that word is, but when like I saw it in Ukraine, it was surrounded by like SS and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
moving on.
I'm moving on. People of Maine seem to have. The Millrind. I hear the president of Argentina and Laura Trump are going to put out a duet album. It's actually Lara. You're getting influenced by Sam saying it incorrectly. It's not Laura. It's Lara.
There's no you.
There's no you. No.
I see this also spell there. No, I won't back down.
All right, 3 more. Mike Johnson's Grindr account says the Knights of Columbus orders ruthlessly defend honoring Columbus Day.
It's because Columbus Day was put into as a sorry for lynching 11 Italians. Like one of the biggest lynchings in American history was Italians.
Okay.
And so they're like, we'll give you Columbus Day.
So this is the exact same thing that happened with Israel.
Yeah.
When something bad happens to a group of people, you don't say, hey, what do your nationalists want in return for this?
Right.
Yeah. Autistic Mandalorians says, eat some Argentine hamburger. Just ignore all the foot and mouth disease.
I'm sure Malay's got it locked down.
Wait. I'm trying to see if I don't get the joke or if it's just a disgusting disease.
Isn't it an actual disease?
It is.
Yeah.
Hasn't Bill Gates made like spider shit burgers yet or something? Whatever he's working on.
Well, I mean, I often cite the lab run me thing as like one of the prime examples, and Elon does this all the time, of technology that is just not there, but is constantly advertised to gin up investment for these companies. The technology is so far away. It's the same thing with self-driving cars, and it's just because they're scammers and they want people to buy their stock. And the final IM of the week. Kowalski from Nebraska. The Argentinian beef imports are not exactly a bad idea from a certain point of view. I am working on a video about this, but domestically we're at the lowest cattle herd size in decades, so our meatpacking facilities are being underutilized. Also, we would have more internal use for our grain if we import live cattle. Obviously, domestic ranchers lose, but we could just give them relief payments or like a herd rebuilding fund. I don't think Trump or Rollins understand what they're doing.
Yeah, to be clear, like my problem isn't that you're you're importing stuff. I think trade is good, generally speaking. It should, but like the problem is it's about China and trying to clean our clocks because again, it doesn't have billionaires soaking up all the money and spending it on sex crimes and giant mansions. They have to reinvest. They can't be billionaires, so that money gets reinvested into building great car companies and trains and stuff like that.
Exactly. All right, folks. Thanks so much. We appreciate you all. We will see you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light's shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid for the road get some